Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. It is August 22nd. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That's Stephen Jensen. And shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. We got a lot to talk about in the world of wrestling. It's a big weekend in the world of wrestling. The biggest weekend if you're AEW, because it's AEW All In on Sunday. But before we get into the wrestling, Jensen, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, man. Doing well. I was getting this day started off nice and early here on Thursday. Happy to see anyone who's here in chat. And Maggie says, Jensen back in the cool office. Yes. Yeah, I have another camera that I don't think is set up yet, but soon I have like another camera where I can probably show you guys the rest of the room. I sent Jeremy some pictures, but yeah, I've got this whole wall behind me is full of stuff. And then I can't move this because it's going to start unplugging stuff. But everything around me, I've got like a Cody wall over on one side. I've got an AEW wall. I got a whole bunch of stuff. So WWE wall. So yeah, I'm happy that the room is pretty much done. As a matter of fact, this just came in yesterday. Very cool. A guy who was just on the show recently. We had Cruel.
Look at that. Signed
and look
it.
at that.
Nice.
The Spotlight 8/15/24. That's the day that our interview aired.
Nice.
So very cool. I put it right up there on the wall of legends, right there behind me. So he got his own little spot. So anyway, yeah. Outside of that, yeah, I know we got a lot to talk about today on the show. So and we got a good interview for y'all as well. We had CamNuggets join, and he'll be on at 10 o'clock with the interview recorded last night with Cam. So yeah, what's going on with you, man?
The usual busy day. Tony Khan's going to talk to the media at 3. That'll be fun. I'm sure he's going to say everything's great and fantastic and great and great.
Yep. Yeah, you're probably right.
That's typically how it goes.
Yep.
Guys, leave a thumbs up on the video. Leave a thumbs up. That helps us out. You can subscribe to the channel. You can subscribe to our sister channel. We see Maggie in our chat all the time. Coexisting with Rob and Maggie is live today at 3 p.m. Eastern. Usually they are every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, but Maggie is going to All In. So they are going to be live today at 3 p.m. Eastern instead of tomorrow because Maggie will be making her way to be All In. So that's Coexisting. Fightful Overbooked, 3 p.m. Eastern with Rob and Maggie. Leave a super chat, get your question, comment, statement read on the air. That helps support the channel and us as well. I think that's everything. That's all the preliminaries or whatever you want to call it. Let's get into it.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. It was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
AEW All In this weekend. It's the biggest show of the year for AEW, and it's going to be headlined by Swerve Strickland defending the AEW World Title against Bryan Danielson, who will be putting his career on the line. This is it, right, Jensen? Bryan Danielson's got to win this title.
Yeah, for sure. We've talked plenty about the whole like heel dynamic, face dynamic, and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, this match is going to be great. I think, one of the criticisms we had, I think, like weeks ago, or technically even months ago, because this has been building for a while, but was Osprey not being in like the, in the world title match at Wembley and all this stuff. But I think they've done a really good job of building Osprey and MJF for the American Championship at this show. So like, I just want to throw that out there too, that they've made a lot out of multiple scenarios to where like, I think this card's going to be really good from top to bottom. The fans should hopefully be really into this show. That said, once again, Danielson and Swerve, I just don't see any scenario where Danielson loses. I don't think that, especially with like everything that Swerve said last night, You know, I like that promo, by the way, about how, like, if you want to show up to an indie show, because that's the reason we all think Danielson won't retire. He's basically parroting what, like, the fan base and what Danielson himself probably thinks and feels about, like, not retiring. Because the reason Danielson wouldn't want to, like, put a stamp on his career and, like, definitively retire is to leave the door open to do potential indie shows or do a match in Mexico or wherever. So I like that Swerve brought all that up. It's like, I'm going to beat you. And then when you're thinking about doing that indie match or showing up at that indie show in Seattle or whatever, guess who's going to be there? I'm going to be there. When you're trying to, you know, do a match under a mask in Mexico, thinking people aren't going to know that it's you, guess who's going to be there to attack you? I will. But then he gets too personal by the end of the promo, because he brings up, you know, when you're at home with your family, with your wife and your kid, and, you know, and you're thinking about making that return, guess who's going to be there? That's what prompted Danielson, because now Swerve is talking about basically breaking into his house, which we have seen Swerve do to Hangman. We've seen Swerve basically do to Nick Wayne with, like, the training center and stuff. So, like, I liked the promo. It was definitely another heel promo by Swerve, but he is going to get a big reaction, I think, because the fans do like him. So I think it's going to be a cool environment at All In. I think the fans are going to be very loud throughout the match. Danielson really played into the yes chance at the end of this thing too, which gave me pretty big WWE vibes. But I also think that it would be kind of foolish for him not to utilize that. You know, like, I mean, the idea is that an entire Wembley Stadium is going to be doing that together, similar to how we were doing it at WrestleMania 30, you know, in New Orleans. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts in a nutshell on kind of where we're at with things and how I feel things are going to play out. Like, I do definitely think that Danielson is going to win this match, but I think it's going to be a great match. And I think Swerve has had a damn good title run, and I could very well see him becoming the champion again in the near future, potentially. However, they're going to wind up getting to Swerve and Hangman at some point. The title will probably be involved with that, whether he's got it or Hangman has it, and if they might go back and forth. So this title reign also cemented Swerve as, you know, a main event guy in AEW, you know, pretty much forever, probably.
I thought this go home segment was fantastic last night. I thought Swerve's part was great. I thought Danielson coming out when he did, getting Swerve out of the ring, and then the last promo he cut. Danielson is so good at the fiery babyface promo. I remember the promo he cut on MJF before their Iron Man match at Revolution, and how good that was. Like, he's so good at just getting the crowd behind him and getting the crowd up for these types of matches. And obviously it's potentially his last match, so you expect a fiery promo from Danielson. I think he's going to win. I've been saying it for months that he should win. Him putting his career on the line gave me more reason to believe he's going to win, because I don't think he's just going to retire.
Right.
I don't think he's just going to go off and be done after all of this. But I do like that, and Swerve mentioned it last night in his promo of, you know, Danielson keeps saying, like, I'm at peace if I retire. And Swerve's like, you're not taking that from me. You're not taking that, like, oh yeah, you'll be fine if you just retire. Like, no, I'm going to beat you to the point where you're going to want to retire. I'm going to cripple you, so, like, you can't come back. I thought it was a really strong segment, and I'm looking forward to the match even more than I already was. The yes chance is a weird almost relationship Danielson has with them, because when he came to AEW, he said he didn't want to do them because it was to WWE, but it was the Okada match where he, like, broke his arm that he kind of really started to utilize him, because I think he felt that the crowd was down because of the arm break and everything, and he couldn't do everything he wanted to do after that. So he needed to bring the crowd up, and the yes chance was just an easy way to bring the crowd up. And ever since then, he's really utilized them in these bigger matches, and he's got the trademark to it now. So it is his. It's not a WWE trademark anymore. So I don't blame him for utilizing the chance. And yeah, I imagine we'll get them at Wembley. Like, they're Danielsons. They're not, you know, they tried to make it the big shows, but it's a Danielson chant, not the big show. So
yeah, yeah. So you can. I never really thought about that, to be completely honest. Like, you can trademark just the word yes.
But well, it's yes.
Oh, it's the 3 S's together, like how Ric Flair's woo is like a certain amount of O's, I think, after the W. Okay, that makes sense, because I was about to say, like, I could maybe see like the combination of the word yes and the arm motion together as like somehow being like a trademark or something. But okay, so yes. So, but technically speaking, then if you know, somebody wanted to use without having the trademark, could he use yes or yes, but he couldn't use yes. You know what I mean? Like, is it the 3 S's specifically? I've never thought about that being an actual part of like a trademark or part of. I always just thought it was like Danielson, like you had said before, like Danielson when he came to AEW said he didn't really want to do it because it was too WWE, or that he didn't want to like step on WWE's toes either because he had a really good kind of like clean breakup with them, didn't burn any bridges. But that's interesting. I never thought about the yes being trademarked, but I mean, it makes sense. Like I said, the Ric Flair woo, I'm pretty sure if there's like, I think it's 4 O's after the W, Flair owns it, but like any other combination of that word, like he doesn't have, technically speaking.
Yeah, it's the number of yeses and also the exclamation point on it. And it's also the purpose in which you use it. Like, you can't prevent people from, like, WWE could theoretically get someone to do the Big Show. I know it's not there anymore. They could have, I'll just throw a name out there. They could have Chad Gable come out there and just be like, yes. And like, you can't prevent the crowd from doing that. It's also like merchandising purposes, but like they can't print a merchandising thing without doing it. It's the same way like Ric Flair trademarked the Man, and that became a whole big dispute with Becky and everything. So the trademarks are very strange. It's, you know, what they're categorized under, what they're used for, things like that. Danielson's whole point was, he didn't want to use it because it just felt WWE. It wasn't so much that like he couldn't, because the crowd was kind of doing it anyway. He just didn't really steer them into it. Again, I think it was the Okada match where he really started to steer things into it. And ever since then, he's kind of continued to do that, which, you know, is I don't blame him, especially now that he's got the trademark. Like, you might as well utilize it and do what the crowd has been doing. I expect this to be a great match. It's Bryan Danielson on a big stage. Like, I don't know the last bad Bryan Danielson match, especially on a big stage, and Swerve has delivered in every match as champion. So I expect this to be great. Crowd's going to be there. The moment is going to be there. And I think Danielson is winning, and then we'll see what his reign becomes. And if it is the end of Swerve's reign, I think he did very well. I mean, more than very well as the champion. Like, he carried himself very strongly as the champion and had great matches, solidified himself as a top guy in AEW. And I expect he'll continue to be in that position. I don't want any goofiness with Hangman Page potentially getting involved. I know Hangman's in the Casino Gauntlet. I don't want him like costing Swerve or anything like that. If you're going to do this match, just a clean finish, a clean match, no interference, nothing like that. Maybe they got to, you know, make a thing of like Hangman barred from ringside to ensure that there's none of that. But I hope that Hangman is not involved in any way, even though Hangman is obviously targeting Swerve.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And Hangman has, like, I feel like he's constantly tied to those gauntlet and battle royals and stuff like that. He's always, I feel like there's been like multiple times, like he's been like the wild card or been like these have been a lot of his. He doesn't always win. He has, but like the last one he didn't win. Because of course Danielson won like the Owen tournament, for instance, and stuff like. Oh, actually, was it? Was there a match that? Was there another gauntlet or something I'm thinking of from recently? That Hangman
Osprey won the last Casino Gauntlet. I don't think Hangman wasn't in that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm getting a little confused because they do so many of these types of gauntlets and stuff like that in AEW. And I'm not complaining about that, by the way. I just think that like it makes sense that Hangman would be in the gauntlet match, and like I totally expect him to win. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like, you know, that's kind of an easy way to constantly get whoever you want kind of in that spot. But that said, I mean, ultimately we are going to get Hangman and Swerve again. Like we know that that has to happen in the near future. So I'm looking forward to seeing how AEW plays all this out. I think because also, assuming Danielson wins the title, is it him and Hangman for that title right away? And is Hangman going to beat him for it? Does Danielson have a longer run than we think? What does Danielson's title reign look like, and how long is he going to be the champion? Or is this more about him getting his flowers, which is kind of how it feels like? Is it more about, kind of doesn't matter as much what happens after he wins the belt? It's more about him getting his moment at Wembley and being the champion. And of course, once again, as I mentioned, I don't think it's a coincidence to lean so heavily into the yes chance heading into a show like this, especially last night where he literally, he did the whole thing where he was like, do I have what it takes to beat Swerve at Wembley or whatever? And the crowd, yes. And he's doing the thing with them. That's 100%. Once again, makes sense. It's 100% designed so that 80,000 people are doing that together at Wembley. It's going to make for a really cool moment for his entrance, for whenever he hits one of those running knees. And then especially if he beats Swerve for the title, the place is going to go nuts. And like I said, the only thing I can really think of that's comparable is when we were both at WrestleMania 30, when he won the world championship at that show, and the whole crowd, the whole show is based around him winning the world title. I mean, from the opening match of him beating Triple H to the main event of the show and then we had the weird, Brock beating Taker segment as well. That was a whole other thing in itself. But anyway, I think it's smart what they're doing with Danielson and the hype they're trying to build with Danielson. I think that all the promos were good between these two. I thought last night was a really good way to go home for everything. I got nothing against any of this. So yeah, this is good stuff. And like I said, I think Danielson's going to win. You think Danielson's going to win? I think everyone probably thinks Danielson's going to win, but that doesn't mean anything against Swerve. Swerve's had a great run with the championship.
I think the other big match is Will Osprey and MJF. Speaking of strong go home segments, I thought this was fantastic last night. The back and forth these two had before MJF got one up on Osprey by bloodying him, hitting him with the diamond ring, hitting him with the brain buster, and going for the Tiger Driver, but getting pulled away. And then we had the backstage segment where Danielson just told Osprey to do it. And so I imagine we will get a Tiger Driver in this match. But who do you think is going to win this match, and what have you made of the build between these two, Jensen?
I like the build. I like both guys a lot. Like individually and as opponents, obviously. I like this a lot as a rivalry. I thought it was pretty funny, and it made sense how like MJF had like that slip up where Osprey was like, the fans loved you, and like, you ruined that. Like you had them and you ruined it. And then like he's like, no, you came back and you ruined it for me. You know what I mean? Like they loved me and then you came back. And it's like, oh, you're jealous of this guy. It's like, which obviously like that's good heel. Like that's good heel stuff. Like I like the back and forth a lot. I mean, he makes it personal by talking about how Osprey's kid that he's raising isn't, he's not the birth father of, and that how MJF is going to be the next dad of a kid he's going to raise. Right? I mean, it's like, dude, like this is heelish stuff. I mean, this is why MJF is such a good heel. Like he's good at he's good at prodding you and hitting a nerve. And it's just building and building to where like we've already seen the two of these guys wrestle for an hour. We know this match is going to be awesome, and I expect it to be awesome. Both guys are exceptional talents. Like I think Will Ospreay, pound for pound, is probably the best in-ring worker in the entire world right now. And MJF, I think, is potentially, outside of maybe Cody Rhodes, I think MJF is probably the best, most well-rounded, just overall pro wrestler out there as far as like his in-ring ability, his promo style, the way he can get heel heat. In his age, he's still super young and he hasn't even hit his prime yet, technically. So, I mean, these are two guys who are incredibly valuable to AEW, and I think it's going to be a great match. As far as a winner, I feel like Osprey's got to win. It's Wembley. I mean, I feel like you got to give those kind of moments. Personally speaking, I would prefer if MJF was the American champion longer, because I like what he's doing with this, and I know that people don't. Listen, y'all, I know there's a lot of people who don't like Hulk Hogan. I know, like, I get it. And that's the point when MJF is like quoting Real American and stuff in the ring and wearing a red, white, and blue suit and stuff, like he's trying to make you dislike him. And that's or if you're like ultra, pro USA and pro Hulk Hogan and pro wearing the American flag and all that stuff, then like you're loving this. If you're that fan too, it's just interesting to see how MJF has pivoted and how well this is working, in my opinion, with him as the American champion, because I was so sure when he came back he'd be focused on the world title, but he's made this championship very entertaining, in my opinion. This whole story. So at the end of the day, I think Osprey is going to win, but I would personally prefer if MJF kept it, because I really wanted to keep this whole American champion thing going.
I would assume Osprey wins as well. I would assume he hits the Tiger Driver. I said this weeks ago that they needed to do a Danielson and Osprey like backstage segment, and they did, and I thought it was very good. And then now Osprey will obviously have less hesitation to use the move because Danielson gave him the okay. I haven't loved the story with the Tiger Driver. I get it. I understand it. I understand what they're going for. I just thought they missed some beats, especially with Danielson coming back in 2 weeks, doing Anarchy in the Arena, wrestling in this match, and going for the title, doing a whole tournament, and also little things of Queen Aminata just uses the move against Athena, and Athena kicks out, and that was in the middle of all this, and it's like, oh well, is the move really that dangerous if Athena's just going to kick out from it? And it, the Tiger Driver didn't beat anybody either. It's not like he beat Omega with the move. It's not like he beat Danielson with the move. And I don't even think Osprey helped his case of like, he went on Twitter and is like, all my moves you can protect against or counter, but this one there's just no protection and no counter for, and I don't like that. It's like, what? Why are you saying these things?
Yeah, the intention of these, of the sport aspect of the sports entertainment of the pro wrestling we're watching, is that you have to hurt your opponent enough to keep them down, to pin them or submit them. Like, so it isn't a negative that you're using a move that has no reversal. That would be like everyone should want to have moves that people can't reverse.
It's also weird because like there is a reversal to it. If you just, if you can break the double underhook, like that's a reversal, and then into a back body drop. Or I guess if you're very strong, if you can just not be lifted and then the counter. I get there's no real protection. But the other thing is, like, when they show the video package, Danielson lands very well on his shoulders. Like the Omega one looked deadly. That one looked like, ooh, spiked on the head. Danielson just looked like he was taking a pretty, I don't want to say easy, but like for a trained professional like that, a pretty solid just back bump on that, like a shoulder flat back bump for that. While Kenny looked like he was really spiked on that one. So yeah, I haven't loved the story. Again, I understand it, but it's been a little, it's just been a miss for me. That said, I'm looking forward to the match. I thought this was a really strong segment to get people invested into the match beyond the Tiger Driver stuff, because that's there, but it obviously goes beyond beyond that, just using that move. It is about kind of the love-hate relationship the fans have with MJF, and MJF coming back to reclaim kind of his top spot. And MJF, I don't know if saying all the fans left when you came is the best optics in the world, but that's what they ran with. And it's you ran everybody off, now there's no crowds, and now I got to come back and save everything again. I don't know if you want to lean into that stuff too much, but they did, and like the delivery was strong, the message was strong, and I think the match is going to be very good. I wasn't as high on their hour-long match as a lot of people were. I recognize that the work was good. I think everyone knows me by this point that like hour-long matches, especially when I can feel that they're going an hour long, and I think by the 20-minute mark you could feel that match was going an hour, just aren't for me. I actually expect this match to be better than that match, or at least more of my taste. Maybe other people won't find it as good, but I think it'll be more my taste, this match. And I think Osprey will win. I'm kind of with you that it feels like there's more to this MJF reign than just putting the title back on Osprey.
I agree. I mean, technically, he could always kind of carry this idea into the world championship, like he can keep kind of it, but it obviously it fits the international championship turning into the American championship. It fits that to a T, and it makes the most sense. And also, I feel like it's going to be a minute before MJF is in that world title mix again, because we're going to have to play out. Well, he could get involved with Dane. There's a lot of options. I don't want to count MJF out of the world title mix at the moment. We just know that Swerve and Hangman is going to be a main event level feud. We know Danielson's probably going to be the champion. So, after this weekend, how does MJF fit into all that? I'm with you also about the Tiger Driver storyline. I haven't been into it either, kind of for the same reason I just mentioned. Like, I don't feel like you should be. I understand being a human, but I don't feel like you should be really remorseful about doing wrestling moves that hurt opponents. Not, kayfabe. Like, this would be a different scenario if we're talking about, like, Osprey actually drops someone on their head. They actually get really, really hurt. And he actually is like, and it isn't really a storyline on TV. He's more like doing an interview after the show, which he did, by the way, after the Omega Tiger Driver. I'm okay with, on a personal level, if something for real happened, like, for instance, and I hate bringing this up because I'm not, but like, for instance, like, I don't know. I don't know if D'Lo Brown ever did like a Liger bomb after draws. You know what I mean? Like that totally makes sense to me. Like, someone actually got hurt. Like, I understand you retiring a move and being like, I'm never doing this one again. I get that. But when we're talking about a move that, like, isn't actually hurting people, and you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where, like, of course you want to, like, let me put it, I'll put a bow on this whole topic. I expect the finish of this match at Wembley to be Osprey hitting a Tiger Driver 91 and following up with a hidden blade and pinning MJF. I think that's going to be the finish.
I wouldn't follow up with the hidden blade. It should be the Tiger Driver.
I agree, but I'm with you where, like, he's not even a finisher, which is weird.
That's why you establish it now. Like, you establish this as the finisher and as, like, like, this is the move that can actually beat people. This is a dangerous move. This should put people away.
It's like his super finisher, like, which I'm okay with. Osprey's got a lot of finishing moves already. He got the hidden blade. He's got the Stormbreaker. He's got the.
That's the part. That's the part that is funny to me, is where he's like so hesitant to hit the Tiger Driver. It's like, all right, dude, just do the Stormbreaker out of your double underhook. Like, you do that move anyway.
It's the same setup. Yeah, exactly. There's that. The Oscutter he hasn't really used as a finisher much lately, but occasionally uses as a finisher. He's got that top rope spiral tap type thing he whips out every now and then. Like, but once again, I think it's cool for people to have multiple moves that are considered finishing moves that finish opponents consistently. Like AJ Styles, I think, is a perfect example of this, where he's got the phenomenal forearm, he's got the calf crusher, he's got the Styles Clash. You know what I mean? He's got the springboard 450. Like, there's multiple moves where, like, Styles. Same with Gunther. Gunther's a perfect example of it as well. He can beat you with the chop. He can beat you with the power bomb. He can beat you with the top rope splash. He can beat you with the clothesline. Like, so I don't necessarily have a problem with all that. But like you said, it's like, dude, you've got like 5 finishing moves. If you're that hesitant to hit a Tiger Driver, just do the Stormbreaker. That puts everyone away too. You know, like, but I'm okay with him establishing, okay, the Tiger Driver is like maybe a once every, maybe a few times a year he has to whip out the Tiger Driver. And no matter from now on, if he hits that move, it's the finish. It's the 1, 2, 3. Although I'm going to stick with my prediction. I think he's gonna hidden blade afterwards. We'll put a little side bet on that. Little side bet. By the way, I had somebody hit me up on Twitter. If you're watching the show, I meant to DM you. I want to get more information. There's a guy who hit me up last week and said he'll actually put together legitimate odds. If I want to take odds and place a bet on my prediction last week of the Lucha Bros winning the WWE tag titles within 4 months of joining the company, I was like, if you can put actual odds on that, and so put it out there, like I'll I'll maybe place some bets based on my wrestling predictions. Now, since Wrestle Rumble doesn't have a contest for All In, I got to get my fix somehow. You know what I mean? So, yeah, throwing that out there. But I'm looking forward to MJF and Osprey. I think it's gonna be an awesome match.
I don't know what the odds would be for Lucha Bros. It feels like what's the timeline? Within a year, and it's WWE, not NXT.
I said within 4 months they'd be whatever brand they wind up on. Within 4 months now NXT it would probably wind up faster. So like it'd be a really safe bet. I think. Dude, I think the Lucha Bros are going to get massively pushed if they wind up in the WWE. Like, I think people are underestimating the level of marketability because the WWE machine is going to take those masks and those characters and their entrances and like their action figures and their merch. Like the WWE machine with those two guys are going to massively push them. So if it depends on what brand they wind up on, obviously, and if they're heels or baby faces, it depends on who has the titles at the time. But I think it's within 3 or 4 PLEs, they would be the tag team champions.
NXT
tag champs right now on Raw. It's the Judgment Day, right?
Yeah,
yeah. Who's the babyface team that probably takes it off of them?
I think my prediction is Sammy and Jey Uso.
I could see the Lucha Bros maybe beating those guys potentially. It's not, they'd have a banger match. I don't know. It depends on how things play out, right? If it's NXT, I think it's a pretty safe bet. If it's Raw or SmackDown, it might take a little longer. And I also side betted the idea that I think Pentagon and Phoenix, by the end of their runs, will also have singles matches at WrestleMania. I think Pentagon will have a high-profile singles match at WrestleMania, but that's probably a couple years down the line. But I don't know
what your odds are, but whatever they might be. I feel like they should be in the plus money, though. I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is definitely plus money.
Okay.
I just don't know how high we're talking. That's what the whole thing would be based on. Whether I'd take a bet or something, obviously, is going to be the plus, and then what that little number behind the plus is. But I don't. I mean, that's a completely sidebar conversation. I just feel like, there's certain acts that if WWE got a hold of, I think they would massively market. And I think the Lucha Bros are two guys who would massively market, and they have the experience and the talent, and they know how to get over and stay over. Like they would do great in that system. So
Drew makes a good point that I was about to bring up, to go back to Osprey and MJF.
Yeah.
I could see this happening. And I could see this is how Don Callis helps MJF retain. I could see something like he does use the Tiger Driver, and then Callis puts his foot on the rope, MJF's foot on the rope. And then Callis turns against, I don't know if it's even a turn against Osprey. Like, Callis is a dick. So I don't know if they have Takeshita. I don't know if he's going to be there. I think he should enter and probably win the Casino Gauntlet. But I could also see Don Callis puts MJF's foot on the rope. Callis distracts the referee. Here comes Takeshita. He wipes out Osprey. MJF picks up the victory. And it's not a alignment between MJF and Don Callis so much. It's you get back around to Osprey and Takeshita, and you continue the Osprey and Don Callis stuff. MJF is still the champion, but he's not actually part of the Don Callis family. We've seen plenty of times MJF just pays off people to use them for his services. And this is just another example of that. So I don't rule out this finish. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I apologize for putting out in the universe if it does happen, but I would not rule it out.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think it'd be smarter to have Osprey win in Wembley in front of that crowd. But if the ultimate goal, if they've already penciled in, which I don't know if they have or not, but I'm just assuming they've probably already penciled in the idea that barring any major injuries or, catastrophes or any major changes, Osprey is probably penciled in to become the AEW World Champion at Wembley next year. I would guess if they're not going to do it this year.
Well, they're not at Wembley next year, so that's.
They aren't at Wembley next year?
No.
What's happening next year? Oh, I completely missed. So when are they not going to do Wembley again after this?
They're doing Wembley in 2026.
2026. Okay, I missed all of that. Really? That's mind-boggling to me because I feel like the only reason you wouldn't, I shouldn't say only reason, but
it's diminishing returns if you continue to run Wembley. Like taking a year off isn't going to hurt them.
No. I mean specifically when in regard to Osprey, like because I feel like he's got to have a huge moment. Like I like okay, so if you're not going to Wembley next year, I feel like you got to have Osprey win this year. I mean, do you really want to have that crowd? I mean, yeah, it's great heel heat for MJF, but like he's already the top heel in the company. Like you have. I don't know. I think that'd be pretty mind-boggling if they had MJF beat Osprey in Wembley this year, especially if they're not going back next year. I think that's pretty wild. But
I mean, the night's going to cap off, assuming Danielson wins. Like everybody will forget about Osprey losing and just be happy for Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, they're doing.
Osprey beat Jericho last year, like in front of a bigger audience. The crowd will be okay. I still think Osprey's going to win, mind you. I'm just throwing out a scenario that MJF could win. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, especially if you're not going to Wembley next year. So it's like, we can kill the town. We're not coming back for another 2 years. Don't kill the town.
Right. That's true. No, I like y'all know. I think that MJF overall is the most valuable person that AEW has. I think he's technically speaking, he's probably their biggest star. Also, definitely their biggest quote unquote homegrown star in the company. I have no problem with MJF winning as far as like being a fan of MJF. I just think it'd be a kind of mind-boggling decision if they have Osprey lose in this setting. But I think Osprey's going to win at the end of the day too. I'm with you. So it should be a great match.
Shout-outs were saying the only reason MJF should win is if Garcia is resigned and shows up at the next Dynamite to set up an all-out match. That is the weird dynamic of this, is MJF agreeing to face Garcia, and obviously he murdered him, and then Garcia's not around, then it's possibly he's not resigned. I agree that, it feels like MJF has more to do with this title, and the Garcia match is one of them, where if Osprey wins, you can obviously do plenty of stuff with it. He can go on, he can defend it around the world like he wanted to do the first time, but just never really did. It feels like there's just more meat with an MJF title run than there is of, okay, Will Ospreay's champion. He's going to have cool matches and go defend it and stuff. But MJF, like doing the America thing, but also defending it internationally and leaning in to that kind of stuff. Feels like there's just a lot more you can do with it.
I agree. I totally agree.
And yeah, if MJF loses, where it will be interesting to see where he goes from there, because he can't go to the world title immediately. He just lost. You gotta make that matter a little bit that he lost against Will Ospreay. So I do wonder kind of where he goes if he loses.
I know. I don't know. Like I said, I was saying that a minute ago because like I don't expect him to be in the world title mix immediately, especially because I imagine Hangman and Swerve will be in that mix very soon as well. I mean, Swerve already is obviously, but assuming Danielson wins. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a bit of a log jam at the top, but MJF needs to be at the top. I mean, you can't pivot him into another feud with Wardlow or something. You know what I mean? Like you gotta have a plan, which I'm assuming that they do. I would really hope that you got a plan for once again, I don't say this lightly, but in my opinion, the most valuable person in your entire company, I would definitely have a plan for MJF. So.
I think the other match, at least to me, is if you're looking at kind of a big three on this card, I think it is Mariah May and Toni Storm. I think it's been a fantastic feud. The turn Mariah May did after winning the OWN was great. And then everything after that has been very good. You know, they had to let it cool a little bit, and then they've built it back up. I thought last night, again, another strong segment where Mariah attacks her with the shoe and coddles her as Toni Storm is laid out. And I thought Mariah May was going to win, but after seeing Toni laid out, like it doesn't feel like Toni's gotten an up in this feud at all. And I don't know if they want it to just be Mariah just continues to have one up on Toni the entire time. Maybe that is the overall story, is that, okay, Mariah is better than her. Mariah was at every turn. She knew the move and she was going to counter, and she studied everything. And she learned everything she could from Toni Storm, and she was able to defeat her. But it also just feels like Toni's got to get an up at some point, and there's only one more show for her to get that, and that's the actual match.
I like that, by the way. I kind of hope that that's the route that they go, is the, like, Mariah May, because she was such a close student of hers, and you know, Toni was her mentor and everything, that Mariah just has an answer to everything Toni's got. And like, you obviously there is the possibility for them to run this match back multiple times at big shows, you know, going forward. I don't necessarily want to see. Well, I think Mariah's going to win. I'll put it that way. I think Mariah's going to win the match, and I don't necessarily want to see her just constantly wrestling Toni Storm, and that's like the only thing she has going on for when she wins the title. But I think it's something they can definitely come back to. And you know, maybe Toni gets a win back later on. I got to give Toni Storm a ton of credit for this whole. And she's been doing the gimmick for a while now, but the whole Timeless Toni thing, the career reinvention, has been like, it worked so well for her. I've talked about how those, I know you have to cover those post-fight scrums and stuff, but she's like one of the most entertaining parts of those to me.
Oh, she's great because she does like a little 5-minute bit and gets the hell out of there. I wish everybody did that.
Yeah, and then like when she opens it up for questions, she doesn't usually actually answer anything. She comes pre-prepared and she stays in gimmick, and I love the whole like black and white aesthetic of when she's on screen and stuff. And so I got to give Toni Storm a ton of credit for what she's done with her reinvention and with this title run. You know, I think she's cemented herself as a top act in AEW going forward, regardless of what happens. But I think it is time for Mariah to win this championship. The story has been great. The build has made sense. And like you mentioned, I think if Mariah just straight up beats Toni, and the story essentially is she was the student, Toni was the teacher, and the student learned all the tricks and moves of the teacher couldn't beat the student, I'm totally cool with the story like that. I think it makes perfect sense. And I mean, Mariah May is, once again, talk about super marketable. She's gorgeous. She can work. She's a great candidate to be your next AEW Women's World Champion. Like, I think that, and she's new to the company too. Like, she came in and slow burn, similar kind of like to Hook. Like, we saw her on screen for quite a while, but didn't really see her doing much. But like, she was associated with a big act, and now she's getting her opportunity to shine. She's knocking it out of the park. So I love both these women. I think they've done a great job, and I think it makes perfect sense for Mariah to win, especially in Wembley. It's just like, this makes sense.
I think Mariah May will win. I think she should win. One, because the story has been there. Two, if Toni wins, I don't know where it goes from there. It feels like she's kind of beaten everybody she can. You can elevate Mercedes or Britt after this match, but I don't know if they're gonna go full on with that. Willow and Stat, they're gonna face it all out. Maybe they get elevated into the title picture after that, but it feels like Toni's run has been fantastic, but they've done everything they can kind of do with this sort of gimmick and being the champion. So Mariah May beating her, especially the story that they've done, I think makes the most sense. And then it'll allow for Toni to do something different where she's not the champion as well. And Mariah can, like, the Toni Storm stuff has been very good. I like it. It pops me, all the stuff that she does. But at the same time, I think you can only do so much of that sort of kind of, it's not so much meta, but it's just a little campy, old-timey cinema way when it comes to being the world champion, that you got to go on and do a little bit more of a serious type thing. And Mariah May brings a more serious tone to the title.
Yeah. I'm totally with you. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to all this.
Anything else? I mean, I know it's a big card, and we'll kind of we'll talk about it in totality, but anything else that really stands out to you that you're looking forward to, and or just overall thoughts on the card?
Yeah, overall, I talked about him. I think it's going to be a really good show. I mean, the crowd's going to be massive. You know, as far as like other matches I'm looking forward to, let's see the top ones. I mean, I think that Jack Perry and Darby Allin will totally show out. They're having that coffin match for the TNT Championship. Darby Allin in big matches always rises to the occasion.
I think the fact that it's a coffin match now gives me more belief that Darby's going to win, because one, it's kind of his specialty. Two, he's got a title shot in like a month. And I don't know if you want to, like, a world title shot.
Right.
I don't know if like stuffing him in the coffin and losing in that type of manner is, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, in 3 weeks, this guy who just got buried essentially is going to be challenging for our world title.
Yeah, that is strange. But it's also like, to keep hot potatoing these championships isn't great either, especially when Jack Perry just had that video of him literally like reconstructing his current version of the title he's carrying. Like, just to have him lose that right away, weird. But once again, it is also weird that Darby Allin has a built-in title shot from the Grand Slam Battle Royal. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. And then who's going to be, I mean, we're assuming Danielson will be the champ. I wouldn't even be opposed to Darby Allin winning the world championship, by the way. Now that I think about it, like, I mean, if he beat Danielson for the title, I really, or even if it was Swerve, the two of them have a ton of history. Like, I think Darby Allin should be the AEW world champion at some point during his run there. I think he totally deserves it. And he has history with a lot of the top people in the company. And there's also some matches that we haven't seen that I would love to see. But I feel my gut instinct is that Jack Perry will win this, because I just don't see them taking this title off of him so soon. But like you mentioned, it is weird. It would be a weird look to have him. It'd be similar to, like, in a way, to we both complained about whenever Orange Cassidy beat Adam Cole in that non-sanctioned match, and then Adam Cole was like heading to like the world title match and everything. Like, yeah, it would be a weird look. My official prediction is still going to be Jack Perry, but I don't know if it's the best idea to essentially bury Darby Allin 3 weeks before.
It's going to be like Darby's going to be put in the coffin, and then he's just going to be off television until Grand Slam, and he just gets wheeled out in the coffin. He pops out of the coffin. Here we go. Darby Allin is now part of or challenging for the world title. That's how it's going to be. So
yeah,
I don't know. Again, I think I'm more siding towards Darby winning, because this is a coffin match, and it is strange that Jack Perry did all this to create this custom title and then lose it in like a week. But
yeah. But hey, it's not necessarily out of the ordinary for AEW to do something like that. I mean, how many hot potatoes have we already had with some of these titles, where like it's like someone wins like the international title, and then it's like a few weeks later the next person has it, and they change it. They changed the name of that belt like 3 or 4 times already. Like, so, but I think it'll be a great match. These two guys are gonna show out in this environment. Other stuff I'm looking forward to. I am looking forward to the Casino Gauntlet. Like, I think I'm entertained by those kind of matches, and the people that we have announced for it so far. Guys like Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, Kyle O'Reilly, Hangman, obviously. Like, I think Evil Uno's announced too.
I think that was a let's do a bit where Hangman can beat up Evil Uno.
Yeah.
Maybe Evil Uno is in this match. I don't know, but
according to Wikipedia, Evil Uno is the only other person announced for this match. But
it was technically he was announced for it last night. He said he was in it. It just felt like, I don't know if Evil Uno is actually going to be in this match.
Yeah, I don't know either. But I mean, the talent involved, I mean, a lot of great talent there. So the match should be really good, and I'm expecting Heyman to win that thing.
So that seems to be everyone's choices. Like, Hangman's going to win. They haven't really said when the title shot is going to be. So that, I don't know if it's going to be at All Out. I think that's where I don't know who's going to win, is because if the title shot's at All Out, I don't think it's Hangman. If the title shot is later down the line, Hangman makes a little bit more sense. Unless Swerve wins in the main event. But I'm working on the assumption that Danielson's winning in the main event. So I would not do Hangman winning this and then basically losing to Danielson at All Out. Because it seems like at least the report is that they're going to do Hangman and Swerve at All Out anyway. Now, if Swerve retains the title, then I'm okay with Hangman winning this and then they face for the title at All Out.
Right. A lot of moving pieces there. A lot of different scenarios that could play out. Mercedes and Britt, I think, will be good. I think the build for that one's been kind of polarizing, but I think the match will wind up being good.
I think the match will be fine. Britt has not inspired me with her matches since returning.
That's fair.
Mercedes is great. I don't have too much doubt about her. Britt hasn't done great since returning. It's been a long layoff. She hadn't had a ton of ring time, but the Sheeta match wasn't all that good. And the Harley Cameron match, and Harley Cameron's not a person who is really is going to go in there and you're going to have like real banger matches with. She hasn't kind of proven to be at that level yet, but neither of those matches really hit for me.
Yeah, I'd probably have Mercedes win this, unless like they're planning to have her go towards the world title. Mainly because of the reasons you just mentioned. I think Mercedes, and I like Mercedes with Camille. So I feel like there's a lot more they can do with that. Do you think Mercedes wins this one?
I think Mercedes wins this one. I wouldn't take the title off of her just yet, and especially with Camille as the heater and everything, I would keep the belt on Mercedes.
I thought it was interesting in that interview she recently did, how she mentioned like she went to Wembley last year and was planning to go to be at WrestleMania, and then was like, "Oh, this is actually awesome." Like she wound up, in AEW. Wasn't that kind of the story she was telling, where she was like planning to go back to the WWE, and then like
it was. So the timeline is a little strange. I don't think it's completely impossible, her timeline. I just kind of had more questions. So she was planning on being at WrestleMania 39, which was last year, which was in Los Angeles. But Wembley wasn't announced until April 5th. WrestleMania 39 was on April 1st and 2nd, which means she would have known about Wembley before it was officially announced, and that would have changed her plans to go to WrestleMania. And also she was announced for a New Japan show on April 8th, which was early March, which it's possible that WWE and New Japan, they worked out something with Carl Anderson. So it's very possible that they could have worked something out here. So I do wonder how much it was. She had a plan of, I want to be here at WrestleMania 39, but no one else was really privy to this plan outside of her and her associate, Kevin Undergaro. Like, she never had actual talks with WWE about this. And then also, when did she find out about Wembley? Because if her plan was to be at WrestleMania 39, did Tony Khan message her in March and be like, "Hey, I want to invite you to Wembley at All In August," and that made her change the plan? So again, I have more questions about this, because the timeline is, I'm not saying it's impossible. There's some clarity that needs to be done here.
Those are really good points, though. Those are really good points. I hadn't really considered that, because she would either had to have had the inside information about Wembley before the public did to know that event was going to be happening, because otherwise WrestleMania was going to be happening before the announcement. That makes, and then once again, would WWE have let her do New Japan? Well, maybe, because like they let Carl Anderson do New Japan, so maybe those talks were happening, maybe they weren't. That's really, you brought up some good points there. I didn't really thought that deep into it, but it makes sense. I'd keep it about on Mercedes as well. I also think that Jericho and Hook will probably be better than what people expect. I know Jericho doesn't have a whole lot of fans at the moment, but this is for the FTW Championship, another world title belt that the AEW has. Doesn't technically recognize, but definitely does recognize. And this is the last chance that Hook has for the title, as long as Jericho holds it. If he loses here, I'll give you the first prediction on this one. Does Hook get the big W here over Jericho and become the FTW champion again, or does Jericho keep this thing rolling?
I was gonna say Hook wins. I still think Hook wins. I think it'd be kind of foolish not to. So Hook's facing Big Bill on Collision. I've seen this match. The crowd is very behind Big Bill. They are booing Hook during this match. Yes.
Interesting.
I don't know how it's going.
Big Bill rules, by the way. I've been saying that for a long time. I'm not surprised Big Bill's getting some cheers finally, but
I don't know how they're going to edit it. I don't know if they will edit it. I'm telling everybody now. Hook was booed and Big Bill was wildly cheered. And the crowd was not happy that Hook won.
That's interesting. I would take Jericho. I'll take Jericho. Yeah, Jericho's my favorite wrestler of all time, except for Cody Rhodes. I mean, I was going to take him anyway, probably, but that's super interesting, and also kind of a middle finger to those people who think that everything Jericho is doing is a big waste of time. Still, I mean, obviously, it's helping Big Bill out, right? Next match, we don't have much more time because I know we got to get to other topics, but who do you think wins the world tag team title 3-way match? We have the Young Bucks versus FTR versus the Acclaimed.
I don't know. FTR. I actually think the Young Bucks are going to win. Honestly, I think the Young Bucks are going to win.
I'll take the Young Bucks. I'll take the Young Bucks to retain there. It'll be a banger match, though. I mean, we have such like a what do they call it? Like a sickness of riches or whatever you call it, where like
embarrassment of riches.
I guess like this is a 10-match card that we know of at least so far, and that triple threat tag team match is going to be a fantastic match. Like that match is going to rule. And we're kind of like, yeah, he really cares that much because there's so much other huge stuff on this show, you know?
They also, I mean, like it's great matches are going to be great matches, but the, like what they've tried to accomplish going into this just hasn't hit. So I just don't have a whole lot of investment into it. I can only invest in, yeah, this is going to be a great match so often. And it's honestly, it's not too often, especially if I'm not invested in the characters or the people. And there's only a handful of people that I'm super invested in where Bryan Danielson being maybe V1 of, yeah, I don't really care what the story is leading into it. It's Bryan Danielson. I'm going to be excited. I don't have that with FTR and the Bucks and the Acclaim. It's just, all right, cool. Great match. The story's been lacking.
I completely agree with you. Completely agree. I think pretty much everyone agrees with all of that. So yeah, we're expecting a good match, but like the build wasn't didn't really interest me either. And then the last one I've got here, I don't think we really missed anything else. Yes, the Patriarchy versus House of Black versus Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler. A 4-way it's a 4-way London ladder match.
Oh, you just spoiled it, Jensen.
Have they not announced that yet? Is that a Collision they're announcing that?
Yeah.
I can't get any of this stuff straight because they take spoiler alert. I mean, here's the thing, dude. If it's on the internet, I'm sorry. It's like it's too late. It's gonna get spoiled if you're on this show. I apologize. I mean, I'm sorry if that ruined anybody's weekend. But I'm looking at the card right now, the updated card. So sorry that wasn't announced.
Look, if you saw, they announced that it's going to be Top Flight and Leo against Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta for Collision, and the winning team was going to be in this trios match.
Sorry,
if you
guys.
Looked at those two teams and you looked at that match and you couldn't figure out who the hell was going to wrestle on Wembley.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, sorry, y'all. Y'all know I don't. I mean, when I do the Weekender, I literally put timestamps for spoilers. I try to keep people spoiler free, but you also got to understand. Full disclosure, I'm looking at Wikipedia for the match card because they generally keep things the most up to date. And so I'm just reading the card as I see it. I forgot that's technically this weekend. So sorry, y'all. But obviously, I don't think that I didn't. That wasn't some huge spoiler. I don't really feel too bad about letting that one slide.
Now, again, if they announced this match for Collision, if you saw, so that's not a spoiler that this match is happening. If you looked at this and like, I think Top Flight and Lio Rush are gonna be on AEW All In over Pac, Claudio, and Yuta, I don't know what to tell you. I have more of an issue that Pac, Claudio, and Yuta are teaming after Pac walked out on Blackpool Combat Club and Blood and Guts last year and then faced Claudio for the ROH title. And now it's just like, oh, yeah, we're all good with each other now because we need to be on Wembley and be in this match. I also have an issue with Claudio going to a 20-minute time limit draw with Okada. And then he's just like, yeah, now I'm just going to kind of do this trios match with a guy I don't like and Yuta. Like, why wouldn't Claudio get a rematch at All In? Doesn't that make more sense than I'm just gonna team in this trios match now? This just really feels like we need to put Pac, Claudio, and Yuta on the card. There we go.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, speaking of that kind of stuff, and this is the last point I'll make, and we'll move on to the other topics. I know we're gonna have to go kind of quick, and I need to make sure I clock on time for the shoot job, so nobody bitches at me today. A few weeks ago, there was a match where the Beast Mortos pinned it was an important pin.
Mark Briscoe.
Was the ROH World Champion.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, where's Mortos at? Like, I feel like he was getting some momentum, but I guess that's more so on the ROH side technically, even though it happened on AEW.
He's challenging Mark Briscoe for the title coming up.
No, I mean, like, it'd be cool if he had like a match at Wembley, is what I'm saying. Like, I love him as Black Taurus. Like this dude's been good for a long time. I don't know why they changed his name. I'm not a big deal.
I think it was a AAA kind of had
AAA probably owned it. Yeah, that makes sense. That actually totally makes sense. But it was funny because I saw some people that didn't realize like that this guy's been around for a while. They're like, who's the Beast Mortos coming out of nowhere? I'm like, Black Taurus has had like a pretty long career. But I could understand if you're like not familiar. But anyway, there's a whole lot going on in AEW and Ring of Honor. They have a huge roster, a lot of talent. Some people are there, some people aren't. Some people are there consistently, some people aren't as well. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, we're getting a banger of a 10-match card. They might even add more to it for all we know. So, yeah, that's this weekend. And there is no Wrestle Rumble for All In. I've seen some people say that, ask about Wrestle Rumble in the chat. It isn't that they're not sponsoring the show. It's just there is no contest for it on the website. But they have some stuff already cooking up. If you want to check it out over on WrestleRumble.com, they got some what they're doing, I believe, is you can already, I think what they're doing is you like pitch in money and they're going to assign random spots for the Royal Rumble. They're already starting to get the Rumble stuff going. And if the person who comes out on your number wins the Royal Rumble, then it's going to be, I think, $3,000. I mean, they're doing a humongous Wrestle Rumble for Royal Rumble. So, anyway, just want to throw that out there. No Wrestle Rumble for All In, but they got some big stuff cooking.
Let's move on to the deck work out there. Hologram's got to be in the gauntlet, by the way. I agree with that. I think it's a missed opportunity if Hologram's not on the show at all. That says to me that Collision isn't important. And I'm sure that's not their intention, but if you're going to keep giving this guy wins on Collision and then he's not in this gauntlet and he's not on this show, it just says to me like, oh, okay, he's just winning matches on Collision. Why does that matter at all?
That's fair. And if you don't watch Collision, you have not seen Hologram. You know what I mean? So.
I think that you got to get Hologram in this match. He's been one of their he's been a big selling point of Collision over the past few weeks, and he's done very well. And you should give him an opportunity at Wembley Stadium. I think, again, missed opportunity if they don't. All right, let's move on.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
CM Punk is just really happy, Jensen. Notice this? He came out on Raw. He's like, It's great to be in Florida. Congratulations to the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Shout out to Roberto Luongo. Shout out to all the great fans at Fanatics Fest. It was great seeing y'all. One guy drove 5 hours. One guy was on a flight for 10 hours just to be at Fanatics Fest. This is so great. And then he apparently also hates Drew McIntyre. I want your thoughts on just like the presentation of CM Punk and him being so happy.
I'm surprised you skipped over the him being Taylor Swift for men thing.
Well, yeah.
I had no idea what anyone was talking about, by the way. I had somebody tweet at me. I think they said like Fight Talk is Jeremy Lambert, or it said, I guess it was like at Fight Talk is at Jeremy Lambert for men. And I had not seen the CM Punk thing. So I think I responded. I was like, I don't know if this is like supposed to be funny or not, but like, I don't know what this means, but thank you for watching the show. But I don't know, man. I mean, because Drew McIntyre is still the babyface in my eyes. Even with the stuff he's still saying, like, you know, he's like, give me the strap and I'll give you your bracelet back, you know, and all that stuff. Or that's what Punk said, I guess. Give me the bracelet back and I'll give you the strap. McIntyre, you know, I think these guys will have another good match with one another. I know the match that they had at SummerSlam wasn't everybody's cup of tea, and I think that they overplayed the stuff with the bracelet, to be fair. And so, you know, it is interesting that you have. We're going to talk about it in a second here with the other WWE topic, but the two stories we're basically talking about right now is a fight over a bracelet and a fight over a lei, or whatever Roman calls the
Ulafala.
Ulafala.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what they're feuding over, which, I mean, it's cool that there's like stakes to some degree, but I mean, you know, the world title belts is usually what people are fighting over. If we're talking about objects, not that that's necessarily a problem. I just think that,
yeah,
you know,
but the world title is just an object at the end of the day.
Yeah, but it's been established as like, that's what, you know, solidifies you as like the face of the company, and like, you know, you strive to be the world champion and all this stuff. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, by the way. I just think it's interesting that, like, you know, and good in a sense that, like, we're not just that they're adding some things to these stories, like actual tangible objects that people are fighting over, like the bracelet for CM Punk and the Ulafala for Roman Reigns. So, yeah, I mean, I saw some clips of CM Punk at the sorry, what was the convention that they just did?
Fanatics Fest.
I saw that stuff. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm cool that CM Punk's happy, or at least seems to be happy in WWE. He's mending a lot of fences with a lot of people he's had issues with, and, you know, the WWE fan base is for the most part seems to be happy that he's back, and then the people that aren't are probably Drew McIntyre fans, or, you know, and that's a win-win as far as I'm concerned, because I'm a Drew McIntyre fan. I like that Drew McIntyre is doing something big and he's working with CM Punk. Because regardless of how I feel about CM Punk on a personal level when it comes to a lot of this stuff, I'll never deny that the guy's a draw. I'll never deny that the guy's got a fan base, and that at the end of the day, whether you love him or hate him, you're interested in what he's doing, whether, you know, you're hate watching or you're cheering the guy on. I mean, and for Drew to be associated with that is good for Drew McIntyre's career, in my opinion. He won the first match. This is a strap match, with the idea being that now they can't get away from one another. Personally speaking, I'd have Drew win again, and then I would have Punk win the third match at the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, or however they want to play this out, because Seth's still involved as well to some degree. That they got to work in too between now and WrestleMania, probably. But yeah, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Punk won, because then they're 1-1 going into a rubber match. I don't dislike that idea either, but I think it may be a better route to have McIntyre win again, and then Punk gets like the big win in the third match, and he kind of like wins the feud, but McIntyre technically wins both guys come out winning in that scenario. McIntyre is up 2-1 in their overall rivalry, but Punk wins the last match, the one that means the most. Punk gets his bracelet back, and they both move on.
I think the fact that this strap match is a touch all the corners match, which I don't like.
Oh, is it? I didn't think about that. So this is like JBL Guerrero style?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, by the way, Andy, I don't want to miss this. you're probably right. Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood, or some sort of match at Bad Blood. There will be a Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood for sure. It'll probably be with them. I'll be live at that show. That's in Atlanta. You're right. Those guys at Bad Blood makes total sense. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, the fact that this is like touch all the corners makes more sense for McIntyre to win, because he's not just beating CM Punk. You can do the whole, oh, Drew's trying to pull him and he pulls into him and then they just collide and they go into the corner, and then Drew backdoors his way essentially into winning the match. He keeps the bracelet. They can do a match at Bad Blood. I think my issue with like this happy CM Punk is the tone for like this feud. It's just strange. Like him taking this tone for such a blood feud is very weird to me. I'm happy that he's happy. More power to him. If he wants to play nice with everybody at Fanatics Fest and all this stuff, like, cool. I'm glad he's doing well in WWE. But like, when you're talking about this guy, when Drew's doing all the stuff he's doing to him and trolling him and taking the shots he's taking, I don't really need CM Punk coming out here and being like, thanks to all the great WWE fans in the WWE universe. Like, this is not the CM Punk that became the CM Punk. It feels just very, as a television character, the dynamic feels weird to me. And it doesn't sell me on this guy actually having a hatred for him. Like, imagine if the MJF feud, CM Punk just comes out and he's like, you know, instead of cutting that "Will You Be My Valentine" promo, he's just like, it's great to be here in AEW. Like, he did that for a little while, but then once the feuds were, you know, cooking, he focused the energy on that instead of doing the happy to be here stuff. Like, the happy to be here stuff feels like it's lasted a little too long on this.
I agree. Hopefully they crank up the actual like hatred and more like the evil side of CM Punk heading into Bad Blood after the strap match, because that's the best version of CM Punk to me, is the whether he's a heel or not. CM Punk with an actual edge to him, like a guy who is unpredictable. His whole thing is he's CM Punk, right? And that's part of what rubs me wrong about him, but that is him, and that is the gimmick, and that is him as a person to a degree. Is like, that's like the name, it's in the name itself. Like, he's a punk. He's the I've called him before. It's like the Bart Simpson. He's the guy who's like the prankster, the guy who will never actually apologize for anything, the guy who it's never actually his fault, the guy who's always tongue in cheek. But like, that's what makes him endearing to his fan base, is there are a lot of the same type of people that are like, they want to be anti-establishment. They don't want to listen to authority. They don't, you know, they like the prankster, the guy who never apologized. You know, that he represents his fan base very well in a lot of ways, and they support him to the end of time. And that's the best version of CM Punk, honestly, is him being more like that guy, more of like a actual, you know, more like a Punk than a guy who's happy to be there, the veteran who's you know, just getting along with everybody and you know. So I agree with you 100%. Like, I would prefer if by the time we got to Bad Blood, he was more heelish or more vindictive or evil or whatever. And I'm also totally fine, by the way, if the dynamic changes even to where McIntyre is presented more as a babyface and Punk takes more of a heel turn by the time this is over. Like, I think heel CM Punk, though, honestly, heel CM Punk is way more entertaining to me than a babyface CM Punk. But that's just me personally.
Whether he's heel, whether he's babyface, I just need a CM Punk that cuts into somebody like we're used to seeing, because that is the best version. Like, when he did who gave you that name? When Drew was talking about being the chosen one and stuff, like that biting stuff is what makes CM Punk, not the Fanatics Fest was so fantastic. It was great meeting all these fans.
And this is a whole other conversation in itself. We only have 10 minutes, so we're not going to deep dive into this, but like, that's also what you just mentioned is also why I think CM Punk is as big of a hypocrite as I do, because he'll do things like that, where he'll put you on the spot publicly, live, and say something like, who gave you that chosen one name? And you can't answer the question. Like, you can't, you know what I mean? You're not allowed to answer the question because you know what the answer is. But if you go up to CM Punk with a live microphone and you say something about workers' rights or whatever, and he doesn't like it, and he can't say anything back, then it's a humongous problem. And that's, that's been a theme throughout his career. And that's part of the criticism that I have towards CM Punk. I think, does that make sense? Like, so it's like people love, or he loves being able to do that to other people. But then when it happens to him, it causes actual real life problems. So like, just kind of putting it out there, a little hypocritical.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Joe Hendry's challenging for the NXT Championship. He is a TNA wrestler. TNA wrestler headlining this show. Jensen, what'd you make when this all happened?
It totally makes sense. Joe Hendry is like the most over guy on the show. So, like on both shows, that's no disrespect to the people on the shows. I'm actually a fan of TNA, and I cover their 4 big pay-per-views a month right here on Fightful. But yeah, Joe Hendry. Like, do you think Joe Hendry wins the NXT title? Do you think that'll actually happen?
No. I think we're going to see Josh Alexander get involved.
Yeah. So I called that from a while ago, right? I was talking about how when Josh Alexander turned heel at Slammiversary, how the first thing that came to my mind was, man, maybe he should win the world title in this elimination match. And then the North runs both shows. That'd be pretty nuts with the crossover in NXT and AEW, or sorry, NXT and TNA. But yeah, I think I'm with you 100% on that. I think that Josh Alexander cost Joe Hendry, because you already have Joe Hendry and Josh Alexander feuding in TNA, stemming from the heel turn I was just mentioning at Slammiversary. And then you also have the connection there between Ethan Page being the NXT World Champion and the former tag team partner of Josh Alexander. Both worlds collide. Totally makes sense. I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to set up. And it could lead to Josh Alexander, Joe Hendry at Bound for Glory for the world title, because I wouldn't be shocked if Josh Alexander beats Nick Nemeth for the TNA world title.
I think that'd be a good move, personally. I'd have Alexander beat Nemeth. I've heard, and I don't know how credible, and I can't remember where I read this stuff either, by the way, but I think I had read something at some point recently about how there was really strong thought put into Alexander winning at Slammiversary rather than Nemeth, but they went with Nemeth. But like apparently there was a lot of thought put into putting the title on Alexander then. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went ahead and they did it soon.
The other spotlight is Zack Sabre Jr. winning the New Japan G1 Climax. I was completely wrong on this. I thought it was going to be Tsuji. In my defense, I did not think that Zack Sabre Jr. would be like, yeah, give me my title shot at King of Pro Wrestling instead of Wrestle Kingdom. Had I known that, I would have been a little bit more thinking that Zack Sabre Jr. could win this thing, because I don't think he's going to headline Wrestle Kingdom. Maybe he wins the title. Maybe he beats Naito. I don't think it's the worst move in the world that he does. And maybe he does defend it at Wrestle Kingdom against somebody. But I was thinking of the Wrestle Kingdom main event more than I was thinking of the King of Pro Wrestling main event.
Which we all were. That's kind of like Cody coming out and being like, I want your title, Roman, but not at WrestleMania. It's like, why wouldn't you want it at Wrestle Kingdom? Like that's your WrestleMania, ZSJ. Honestly, the main reason I wanted to make this a spotlight is because, for one, I figured we wouldn't talk about it for very long, and for two, I just wanted to say I was right and you were wrong. I made a good prediction, and my prediction was honestly strictly based off of the longevity and tenure and goodwill and everything that ZSJ has built in New Japan over years and years of work there, and that they do need some good top level main event Gaijin non-Japanese talent up at the top. They don't have Osprey anymore. Obviously Kenny was their guy for a long time, AJ before him, Balor before him. I mean they ZSJ and he's not an American, like he's British, and like that's a whole other like part of it just opens up worldwide just more when you have somebody like Zack Sabre Jr. and his in-ring style is different than anybody else out there. Like he's very unique, and he's very entertaining in my opinion. Like I really like his style and the way he carries himself. And So I have no, once again, I predicted him to win the G1. I'm glad that he did. Wasn't expecting him to take the title shot when he's going to. Makes it less likely, I think, that he's going to beat Naito, like you said.
I think it's more likely.
Oh, you think it's more likely he's going to beat Naito and GSJ goes into Wrestle Kingdom as the champion?
I don't know if he holds the title to Wrestle Kingdom,
Oh,
but I think
see
it's
what
more
you're
likely
saying.
that he wins it now.
You think it's more likely he wins and then loses it before Wrestle Kingdom?
Yeah, because they have Royal Quest coming up as well. And I could see him being the champion going. I got to double check the schedules on this. So I don't look completely foolish on this. But I'm scheduling the way I think it is. So King of Pro Wrestling is October 14th, and they don't even have when Royal Quest is. So got to see when Royal Quest is.
I also don't know how motivated they are to take the belt off Naito. You know what I mean? Like, are they in a situation where they're just like, listen, this isn't working. Like, his matches have not lived up to like what he is known to be, and like the sooner we can get the belt off him, the better. Or do they want him being the champion heading into Wrestle Kingdom? I don't know, but I will say this as a Naito fan and somebody who admittingly doesn't watch a ton of New Japan anymore, but I do peek in occasionally, and of course I've seen his stuff whenever he works in the States. The Naito that I've been seeing recently has not been like the same level of Naito that I'm used to seeing, or like his match with Moxley like wasn't good. You know what I mean? Like you know, so, I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, all right, ZSJ is our next, non-Japanese top guy. Like, let's just get the belt on as fast as we can and figure it out from there. Wouldn't be surprised.
So King of Pro Wrestling is October 14th. Royal Quest is a week later. So yes, I could 100% see Zack Sabre winning the title on October 14th, defending it at Royal Quest, winning there. And then I assume they haven't announced anything, but if they have a big event in November, that is where he loses. I'm trying to think of the usual New Japan big November show, and it's not coming to me off the top of my head, so I'll look it up right fast. Power Struggle. Yeah, what?
Oh, sorry. No, you have Power Struggle. There's just a funny chat. ZSJ would be a great transitional champion to get it back to Evil. Yeah, man, that's worst case scenario is Evil being the champion again. That's what turned a lot of people away from the company. Yeah, it's unless you're Jeremy. Yeah.
The Evil.
Evil.
That's
Kevin
his
Owens
hand
has that
signal.
tattoo.
That's his hands on.
Kevin Owens a big Evil fan. Steve Corino a big Evil fan. They got his name tattooed on him. We can move on to the last topic if you want.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Queen of the Indies, which was a joint promotion between West Coast Pro and I should have it off the top of my head.
Pro Wrestling Revolution, PWR.
Thank you. Joint promotion between West Coast Pro and Pro Wrestling Revolution, and it was won by Hyan, who defeated Masha Slamovich in the finals.
Yes.
A lot of talent on this show, including Maya World, who's been on, I think she's been on ROH, and maybe she did an AEW shot as well. Kylie Ray was also on this. Great Muda's daughter was on this as well. So a lot of good talent on this show. It's streaming. Aja Kong was also on it. It's streaming on YouTube. So if you've not seen it, you can go to YouTube and watch this.
Yes, available completely for free. Hyan did win the tournament. The way that she went through this thing, to kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown, Hyan defeated Maya World in the first round of the tournament, beat her. I'm just going to call it a Glam Slam, but y'all know the move I'm talking about. Glam Slam, Jaded, Road to Valhalla, whatever you want to call it, right? Hyan beat Maya World with that to advance. Promise Braxton beat Bert Dixon. Masha Slamovich beat Kylie Ray. Amazona defeated Kyra Strong. So that was like all the first round matches. And the reason I bring all those up is because the second round is you take all four of the winners of the first round and you split them up into a tag team, and then whoever wins that tag team match, the team wrestles each other in the finals. So we had Hyan and Masha Slamovich defeat Amazona and Promise Braxton in the semifinals. On the finish of that was Slamovich got the win for the team. So Slamovich and Hyan advanced to the finals, and then Hyan defeats Slamovich in the finals with with a glam slam. It was like a back elbow, then like a sick kick, and then a glam slam to finish the job. So, yeah, really good tournament. I recommend once again checking out for free. It's over on the West Coast Pro YouTube channel, and this is only the second year that they've done Queen of the Indies. So I'd imagine it'll be an annual thing, and it's a really great talent a really great collection of female talent. Really great tournament, and yeah, I'd recommend people check it out. And congratulations to Hyan for winning the whole thing.
There you go. Jensen, do you want to set up our creator spotlight interview? This was a Stephen Jensen special here.
Yes. So the interview you're about to hear is with CamNuggets. Cam is a commentary YouTuber and live streamer. He most recently has been blowing up for covering some pretty sensitive topics across the internet, stuff like the Dr. Disrespect and Cody Co. Allegations and situations. And the main thing he's been covering recently has been the Mr. Beast and Ava Chris Tyson, Delaware, Beast Games, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in the Mr. Beast universe that's being heavily investigated, a lot of allegations and that kind of stuff. But I noticed in a lot of his videos that Cam was wearing pro wrestling shirts. So I reached out to him and was like, "Hey man, are you a big wrestling fan? I see you wearing the shirts." Turns out he's a big fan, and I'm a big fan of what he's doing, covering this stuff, because I'm a huge YouTube content consumer. Like, I mean, the majority of what I watch is not. I cord cut like over a decade ago. I was one of the first people that I know that stopped paying for cable, and I am 99% of the stuff I watch is just through YouTube. So I watch a lot of Cam stuff. I watch a lot of the stuff for the people he's covering. Yeah, he's a guy who's been on a big come up recently in his space. And some of the people, like, if there's some really, really famous videos going around right now by a guy called Dogpack404, who is a former Mr. Beast employee. He's put up 2 videos so far. The first one has like 15 million views. The other one has like 12 million views, and they've both been uploaded within the last few weeks. And there's a part 3 that may be coming out as soon as today. And Cam is one of the few people who's been able to like get interviews with Dogpack and stuff like that. So it was really cool to get Cam on the show. And when you're listening to this interview, just keep in mind, probably about the first half of it is us kind of talking about what he's been doing with his live streams, some of the drama type stuff, and some of my opinions and some of the coverage and stuff like that. And then we get more into kind of like the pro wrestling talk. But anyways, I need to go clock in for my shoot job so I don't get bitched at. If y'all are watching this right now, if you're watching this at my job right now, I'm about to clock in, so don't complain. And yeah, good seeing you, Jeremy. Good seeing you, chat. Follow me on X at FightTalk_. Use code FightTalk at IndependentWrestling.tv and listen to the Fightful Select Weekender podcast every Sunday, sometimes on Mondays. I think it'll be Sunday this week. I'm going to try to record it before All In. So y'all have a good week, a good weekend. Enjoy All In. Enjoy indie wrestling. Enjoy everything you got going on. And enjoy this interview with CamNuggets.
Appreciate you as always, Jensen. Enjoy. Don't get in trouble. Enjoy the wrestling this weekend. It's a big weekend. But before we get into the weekend, let's get into this interview with CamNuggets, who you can check him out on YouTube. The links are below to follow Cam. Really fun interview, really fascinating interview of kind of covering the YouTube scene. Again, not something I'm familiar with. I made it very clear in this interview that like I'm not up on the drama that is going on. So we kind of get caught up on all that and kind of just how it's all been covered. So let's get into it. Here we go. CamNuggets and the Creator Spotlight.
To the Creator Spotlight here on the Spotlight on Fightful. I am Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert. And our guest today is a commentary YouTuber and live streamer. I've been watching a lot of his coverage recently on big drama going on all over the internet. Specifically, most recently, a lot of the Mr. Beast and Mr. Beast related allegations and all that crazy stuff going on YouTube. Our guest today is a wrestling fan. I've seen him wearing wrestling t-shirts in his videos. That's why we're making today happen. Our guest is CamNuggets. Cam, thanks for joining. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great. Now that I think we're recording, I mean, we've been trying
for sticking with us through
oh, you're good. You're good. I get it.
Leading up to all
it's always when you need it the most, it starts messing up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean,
smooth.
We were talking about, you were saying just the other night, I mean, I was watching your live stream on Monday. A lot of Mr. Beast coverage. You had some big names appear on there talking to one another and stuff. I mean, Dogpack404 was there, Lyrics was there, Jake Weddle was there, Quinn was there. I mean, there was a
Yeah.
huge stream, and you're the one who hosted it. So first of all, congratulations on a very
Thank you,
successful
thank you.
stream. I mean, I was watching live.
I did what I could. It could have been better. It could have been worse. You know, we made it through. You know,
It was very entertaining. You were saying, was that the day you were saying you were having some camera issues before you
Yeah.
went live there?
so I got a new camera. That's the one I'm using. I don't know if on your end it looks good, but on my end it looks pretty good.
Looks great.
Stream cam. And I had to like go buy a USB adapter. That wasn't working. I had to buy a different one. That one finally worked. And the one time I go live, like my screen was like pure black. Like I could still see myself. My lights were on and everything, but it was like black. And so I had to basically run a different program to emulate my camera. That's why on the stream it's like low res, but I was like, that's better than literally no camera. So well, screw it. It sucked.
Well, there's a lot of anticipation for that night because like Jake Weddle was live on Quinn's stream and talking about, hey, I'm about to go live with Cam. So like, I'm like refreshing my YouTube.
Yeah.
He's like, where's Cam? Where's Cam? And I started checking Twitch. I'm like, is he over on Twitch? Is he over on Cam? Where's Cam? And there you were. Finally.
Yeah, that's what happened because originally Jake Weddle told me 8:30 p.m. How's that work? I was watching Quinn's stream too, excited. And slowly 9 o'clock came, and he didn't even come to Quinn's stream. So I guess something came up on Jake's end. And so in my head, I'm like, this probably isn't even going to happen today. It is what it is. Like I started cooling down for the day. I was like getting ready to relax and just kind of chill. And then at like 9:30 or something, Quinn is like, oh, the interview's happening. And so I didn't know how long that was going to be. And then it finally came where it's like my time. I start up OBS, camera issues. I'm like, geez.
Real quickly, Jensen, I know you want to really get into this. So for people like me, I'm not up on a lot of this stuff. So can we get some quick background information for people who might be like me and are like, wait a second, what are these guys like diving into? I hear it's not very quick, but as quick as
fill in all the normies. Just go and fill in all the normies. Yeah.
Oh man. So I've been following this all, from the beginning as a small creator. When you're a small creator, it's important to just dive in to like the newest popular thing. You have to get it because, once Moist Critical, once some ordinary gamers, once all them hop on something, you might as well not even talk about it. And so I was one of the first to start talking about like the Chris Tyson stuff, who Chris Tyson is one of Mr. Beast's best friends who ended up transitioning. And it's come out that they were involved in a Discord with a bunch of minors, and there was a lot of inappropriate stuff going on in there. So people started asking, like, is Mr. Beast responsible? Did he know anything about this? And then this guy named Dogpack ended up releasing a video about Mr. Beast, exposing him for a lot of illegal gambling. And then a part 2 came out where another guy named Jake Weddle got involved, and he pretty much talked about how he had trauma from the event and he wasn't paid all the money he felt he was deserved. And ever since then, like every day, it seems like more people are coming out, more things are coming out. There's a Beast Games thing going on where Amazon gave Mr. Beast $100 million, and people have been, writing horror stories about how they like weren't fed, how Mr. Beast is like holding onto their underwear, like just stories from everywhere, and it's hard to keep up with, but I've been trying, and I've had pretty decent success from it. So that's kind of where we're caught up.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff goes deep. There's a lot to these. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, I've heard of the Mr. Beast stuff, and I've seen some of it. I have not deep dove into any of it. I see it, and I'm like, this isn't the most interesting topic in the world to me. It seems like these are a bunch of bad people as well, and so I don't really want to get caught up into all of this. But I appreciate
blame you
catching me up and other people up in case they are not familiar with this story.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people kind of know about the first Dogpack video, and they're like, he faked videos, who cares? But like they kind of dropped off at that point. They didn't know there's still more coming out, like to this day. And another YouTuber named Rosanna Pansino has been doing like a great job of covering it. She has 14 million subs. Like she's huge, and she has connections and people reaching out to her. And, she's been covering stuff going on, and every day it seems like there's new stuff, and a lot of people are ignoring it. I'm not saying you're ignoring it like to be in bad faith, but just some people are ignoring it in bad faith. They're like, who cares? Who cares? All creators are bad people. It is what it is. But I'm just kind of doing my best to try to cover it and keep the normies up to date on what's happening. And It's going well. It's fun.
Yeah, I think Rosanna talking about it is like massive because a lot of people, like, it gave a lot of credibility because at first, I mean, like back when she was a part of those videos that like she claims, you know, like I placed better than what they showed, and people were like, who cares if you got third place or second place, or like, this woman's crazy.
Exactly.
But then it was like, but she's really brave for like putting her name and her brand and everything out there as huge as she is, but also because she has such a big following and she is credible, got to come out with all this other stuff. It's like, okay, like what she's saying, and she's someone people can go to give information because she can get it out to a large audience, which most other people can't do. So what she's doing is very important in this whole situation. I totally agree.
Yeah, I think she's doing is probably because she has 14 million followers to lose. Like she literally is a baking channel, like a baking lifestyle channel. She doesn't care about drama. She doesn't rely on drama to make money. Like she has a mansion from just making cooking videos. So for her to come out and say, these things are happening, these people are reaching out to me. She doesn't censor a lot of stuff either. So it's like, she's probably not even making money off of these. She's not probably making ad revenue. Like she's just covering it, you know, out of the kindness of her heart. And it's like, that's cool. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, and another thing, just for people who may not care so much about like the Mr. Beast, as far as like maybe some of his contests and some faking some aspects of his videos and stuff. The reason that is important is because it's like, well, how many things are you lying about though? Because there's this, okay, that's not a big deal, but like the Chris Tyson situation is a massive deal. Delaware is a massive deal. Jake the Viking trying to blow out that like he knew a whole bunch of stuff this entire time. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
The subject Weddle's putting out there, there's been a ton of people who have been employees of Mr. Beast or former employees of Mr. Beast that have participated in videos. How many of them were treated how Jake Weddle was? Or how many other videos are out there that haven't actually been put up on YouTube for a similar reason and stuff?
Yeah,
and that's why, you know, like Dog Pack is doing such a huge service to the whole community as well, because he's putting together these videos and he actually is a former employee and he actually is speaking to former employees. So like the fact that you're able to be in touch with those guys and someone like Dog Pack trusts you going on your stream to get information too, that's massive, dude. Like that's a big reason why I have so much respect for doing too.
Oh yeah.
Your platform
to these people, like they've been through things, they're going through trauma, they're going through pretty serious events, you know, lots of legal issues are at stake and cease and desists, things like that. Like these are good people. I reach out privately, I talk to them privately, we're all cool. I know there's a lot of creators out there who kind of want to grill them, you know, dive in and break down everything they're saying and make it seem like they're just after money and trying to destroy Mr. Beast. But I go at it with the understanding that these are just normal people like me. You know, even Dog Pack, like I played freaking Roblox with him on stream. Like we're cool, dude. We're cool with each other. Like it's not like, oh, let me interview you for content. Okay, I'll call you next time I want more content. Like, no, we're here to chill. Like these are cool people. And so I think that's why they trust me. I did have an interview with Jake Weddle recently that has kind of gone around online, and it could have been better. It could have been worse, but again, I'm in good connection with these people. We're all on good terms. Even after that interview, I've talked to them, and they're still willing to work with me in the future on cool projects that aren't drama. So that's all I'm really after, you know, making good connections with good people.
How do you approach something like that? Because I imagine some of it, based on what I'm hearing, like a lot of it seems kind of delicate. Like the topic to talk about, and obviously you're asking the questions that needed to be asked and everything. So I think this is good for really anybody who is trying to cover anything. If it's not this, it's something in wrestling, of like just approaching these types of situations.
So I go at it with a friendly perspective. I'm on their side. You know, if even if I disagree with someone, I'm on their side to an extent, and I want to learn more. You know, I'm more than willing to be friendly and be cordial. You know, ask if chat asks me questions, I'll ask them some light questions. If they say something like, "Oh, you actually reminded me like about this thing. Can we talk about that a little more?" Like I know with Jake Weddle, an issue that he has is a lot of his videos are like really long, really unedited. and he'll talk about like the main point like 10 minutes in. And from a video creator, I tell him like, dude, like, don't you think you should edit it down a little bit? And then his response is like, well, I'm an artist and this is how I make my art. And there are other creators out there who are a little more critical and like, well, you took money. Don't you feel ashamed that you took Mr. Beast's money? And like, they're more focused on the nitty gritty. And they're like, well, in this article, you kind of compared what Mr. Beast does to sexual coercion and like a lot of assumptions, a lot of kind of, I feel like bad faith takes and things like that. And I try to come at it from just trying to understand another person. And that's all I can really do, like you mentioned, when it comes to a sensitive subject, is just try to understand and, again, talk to them as a friend, you know, or maybe like even if it gets to a point where it's like a therapy type of thing, like I'm not critical towards them. Like I don't want to feel like they owe me an answer or they owe anyone an answer, because people speak with their minds and speak with their thoughts and feelings. And if one way they feel, I can't be mad at how someone feels or how someone thinks about something, unlike others, you know?
Yeah. Another thing, you know, because these are sensitive subjects, and we've seen whether it's, you know, bad faith, good faith, like there's a lot of different opinions. There's a lot of different relationships involved too that we've seen in like for instance, I think it's really interesting. We'll just put it that way. I think it's very interesting that someone like Moist Critical and Ludwig, like they've chosen now to decide to step away from wanting to cover YouTube drama, you know, like that kind of stuff. Where, you know, and it's like there's certain relationships and stuff where it's like it's just kind of like, but then I do respect Ludwig for coming out and being like, listen, I can't do business with this guy or take $100,000 for a sponsorship because like I don't know what's going on with him. And I told him man to man, like until I know what is going on, like I can't do business with you. I respect that kind of stuff, but the reason I bring those kind of names up is because that's why people like you are important, guys like Dogpack. Dogpack's made 2 YouTube videos in his life, and they're 2 of the most important videos in the history of the platform.
Oh yeah,
I mean, and that's why we need guys like you and you know people covering this stuff, because a lot of the bigger channels don't want to touch it seemingly.
Yeah. That kind of goes back to my point where I feel like a lot of people watch that first video and they kind of just are like, oh, who cares if he fakes videos? Who cares? And I feel like a lot of big creators still, you know, from that perspective, they still see Mr. Beast as a connection, like a business partner. And so they don't really want to burn a bridge that they don't need to. And if it like, let's say in a month from now, Mr. Beast drops the greatest apology of all time and everyone forgives him. You know, people like me and Quinn Theo, you know, we might never be able to talk to Mr. Beast. That's fine. But, you know, the people who have stayed silent or appropriately timed their break from drama can continue to work with Mr. Beast, you know. But I feel like me and Quinn Theo, me and Dogpack, I feel like we're all doing good work. They're against talking about their feelings, and I'm giving my thoughts on public information. You know, I don't think Mr. Beast is a bad human being. Like, he could very well be innocent. I'm just covering what other people are talking about, other things that are happening and coming out and going into it, imagining people won't just come out and downright lie. And I look at stuff from a critical lens. I don't just make 20-minute videos on every little thing like, oh, he farted, you know. But if it's like a serious claim, I'm going to look at it. If it makes it to the news, I'm going to look at it. If a large creator makes a video, I'm going to look at it, you know. And that's just kind of how I am. So it is what it is.
So I find this all very interesting and fascinating. One, from the perspective of it actually is happening. When I said, like, I kind of know about it, I've seen it, but I don't pay attention. It's not so much of I don't care, I don't think it's important. It is I have 12 kids. I have a life going on besides what's going on here. And honestly,
I don't blame you.
They might know more about this stuff than I do. But the part that I just find interesting, fascinating is like it equates to more than just what is obviously happening in this YouTube space and how it's being covered. I know you're a wrestling fan. I don't know how familiar you are with everything going on with Vince McMahon right now.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
And the lawsuit. And so I'm just kind of thinking of it from that perspective of covering something like that. And I read a bunch of news articles on this and how sort of content creators have almost become such an authority on such topics that now when you have a content creator who is mixed up in such a not great situation, that now other content creators are covering that and how they do just kind of approach it. So I don't so much have a question, and I apologize for that, but I'm really just fascinated by the whole thing of just the coverage of something like this, because, you know, in wrestling, you know, wrestling news sites and then some of the mainstream media news sites cover what's happening with Vince McMahon. But if Mr. Beast, I know he kind of exceeds content creation, but like he's a YouTuber. So YouTubers are now covering the YouTuber, and it just like it's just a weird thing to me of how like you get kind of sort of mixed up in that, and you're able to do that.
Yeah. It is interesting. It kind of goes to the idea of, like, you know, the radio used to be the best form of news, and then it went to TV, and then broadcasting, and then YouTube, and then content creation. I feel like YouTube has become this platform where people can become their own news reporters. You know, I can cover an article, and if it hits the algorithm and 50 million people see it, now 50 million people know about something that they didn't, you know, the day before. And that's exactly what's happening. Like Rosanna Pansino, again, small YouTuber, she was posting things on TikTok, of all places, about the Beast games. New York Times picked it up. You know, I'm slowly starting to see, you know, news people talk about it. I guess they don't want to like delve too much into allegations and whatnot, but it is crazy how it does go from like, oh, this little commentary YouTube guy with like action figures in his room is like covering the largest YouTuber in the world that could change the platform, essentially. And it is definitely an interesting change of the world, and I'm a part of it, so it's pretty cool.
I mean, when you really think about it, though, I mean, this kind of stuff really, to some degree, has happened for a long time. Even when it comes to like Keemstar, like being the news guy, like, you know, 10 years ago, you know, and it's like he was just a YouTuber that knew the YouTubers that he was covering. He was getting information from other YouTubers to be able to report the news, or, you know, whatever he was out there saying and stuff like that. It's wild how he's survived, by the way. He's like the top person of the internet. It doesn't matter what happens to that dude, what he's doing, it doesn't matter. I got to respect it. Like,
well, he like lives on Twitter now. So, I mean, it kind of works out because Twitter is like the dumpster of like the internet. So, you know, he's going to survive. There it is.
Yeah. I noticed that you don't really use Twitter much. So.
Well, that's interesting. It's like I don't use it. I don't type on it much. I don't talk on it much. Again, I feel like Twitter is the one place people will be like, oh, well, let's look through this guy's old tweets and see what he liked and see what he looked at. But I do love Twitter for news. Like, it's an amazing place to get news. Like, one person's tweet could be what destroys another person's career, or one claim could, you know, be on Twitter. Again, all of it's on Twitter. A lot of people pretend they don't like it, or maybe they don't like it because Elon Musk, all kinds of other reasons, whatever. But Twitter is a great resource for like famous people of all sizes to connect, and people to reach out to others and share their stories and share information and news. And I like Twitter. I just don't use it for myself to talk much.
I mean, that's how we were able to connect. Like, I don't know if I was just like a random viewer in your chat or something, if you would have noticed, like, hey, I do a wrestling YouTube, you know, or wrestling show and stuff. So, like, it's awesome from that perspective too, that I could just, you know, DM you, and it's like, hey,
it's cool.
You want to talk some wrestling? It's funny because we haven't talked any wrestling yet. We're gonna get to that, but I'd imagine there's probably a lot of people watching this that aren't familiar with your content, because this is a wrestling channel that we're on. So now that people are kind of caught up on who you are and the stuff you've been covering, we may come back to some of that stuff, but I want to keep it a little lighter.
Yeah, no worries.
Ask Little Wrestling. I mean, I reached out because I saw you wrestling, watching or wearing a whole bunch of wrestling t-shirts.
Oh yeah.
When you're covering a lot of these topics, and I'm like, these are heavy topics, but I'm loving the t-shirts. So, how long have you been into wrestling, and what kind of stuff do you mainly watch nowadays?
So I want to talk about the shirts. Yeah, the shirts are kind of like just, I either wear funny shirts or wrestling shirts. It's kind of like a way of showing my hobbies. You know, people said the same. They're like, dude, I love your shirt. You watch wrestling? And I'm like, yeah. You know, they'll see a Bray Wyatt shirt or something, and it is what it is. I'm like, heck yeah. And then, but I've been watching wrestling since like 2006. You know, I still remember I was really young and with my grandpa, and like DX came back. I was like, this is awesome. And then like when I got to like middle school, high school, I kind of took a break when everyone started saying, you know, that's fake, right? You know, that's fake. And I eventually came back to it like sophomore year of high school. I was like, okay, it's cool. It's entertainment. It is what it is. I like Marvel. I like wrestling. And ever since then, I've just been on and off. I know I took another break around COVID. I didn't like the whole no crowd thing. To me, crowd is like half of what makes wrestling amazing. And so I stopped then, but I'm back now. Again, on and off. Like I'll check out highlights on YouTube of what's happening with the lore, or like following certain storylines like Rhea Ripley and like Dominic and Liv, and certain storylines I follow, and I like that wrestling can do that. And YouTube is so active now that they also keep you updated if you don't have 4 hours every single day to watch and catch up. But mainly Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW and stuff like that. A lot of the other indie stuff, AEW, other promotions, a lot of that stuff I just see on Twitter and TikTok. I don't watch live.
Yeah, so mainly the WWE product, historically as a fan, and then current day, that's the stuff you mainly keep up with.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on in the WWE right now. How do you feel about the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes as WWE champion?
I'd say he earned it. Earned it, but I've seen complaints that he's now like he's just winning everything. You know what I mean? Which it is what it is.
He's the world champion. Of course we should.
It is.
Okay, Cam, full disclosure, I'm the biggest Cody Rhodes mark in the world. I mean,
I love Cody.
I'm going to be
I love
super
Cody.
pro Cody in this.
But it's like, I do understand that when people are like, yeah, he's just winning. His promos are all the same. Like, I'm the underdog and I finally won. It's like, all right, say something new, you know. But I think he's good. I think, yeah.
Come on.
I think it was nice. It was a good, like, what was it, 2-3 years in the making. He earned it. I'd say let him have it for 2-3 years now. You know, it might be the next Roman, where Roman Reigns was terrible for years. And then one year he just turned into the GOAT. And that might happen to Cody. You know, might take this one heel turn that turns him into Homelander or something. And it'll be fun to see. You know, he has a lot of potential. I know in AEW he was kind of a good heel character. I know people didn't really like him in AEW for some reason, but I have hope for Cody. I like Cody. He's a good guy.
Ungrateful.
That's a good answer.
In AEW.
How could they worship Cody?
Dude, I blame that AEW audience as a big reason Cody left. We can go down a whole rabbit hole of like my thoughts on Cody leaving AEW and how pissed off I was that whole thing happened. I was in denial he was coming back to the WWE until he actually showed up at WrestleMania to wrestle Seth Rollins, and I was like, holy shit, he actually went back.
Yeah.
I'm really glad he did.
You could say you could replace Cody in that situation with CM Punk. You know, that's the cool thing about AEW is it was so bad for them that it brought us back both Cody and CM Punk in the highest point of their careers. So you're like, I'll take it. I'm not mad at it. You know.
Jensen has wildly very different opinions on Cody and CM Punk. The biggest Cody fan, the biggest CM Punk hater. That's where he's at.
Oh, man. I've always loved CM Punk. Like, just as a youngster, his Fire Burn song was so cool, and the whole paint on the gloves and the pipe bombs, and he was just always a badass. I don't know why I loved him so much. I still have all of his like figures and stuff. I have a bunch of his new figures on pre-order. But
I respect the collect that you collect. I mean, I'm myself.
This whole book, it's like on this side is like 3 rows of wrestling stuff. So
now, are you hardcore straight edge being a CM Punk fan?
Oh no. I mean, I do sometimes if you got a migraine or you can't sleep, you got to take a little gummy here and there. You're at a party, you got to drink a little here and there. I respect CM Punk for it, but I think in moderation, none of that stuff's going to really be the end of the world for anybody.
Okay. So would you consider CM, well, like who would you say is like your actual, like if you had to choose like a favorite wrestler, like all time and current day? I know I see a lot of Rhea shirts. I know you're big on Rhea. You mentioned CM Punk. So yeah, all time favorite and current.
It's hard because asking my favorite wrestler is kind of like when someone asks like, what's your favorite movie? Like some people have a definitive choice. I really don't. For me, it's like I've had my moments where when I was younger, it was like Jeff Hardy. and then it was Bray Wyatt, and then it was Seth Rollins, and then it was CM Punk. It bounces around so much, but I would say probably all time, looking back, probably Shawn Michaels, and then just kind of recent would be Rhea Ripley. I really like what she's doing.
Yeah, how different it... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was gonna say with Rhea, like I know she's like huge on TikTok of people who like don't even realize she does wrestling, but they see it on TikTok. Like, is it the aesthetic of Rhea, and then now like the story? So one thing that I'm a fan of now that's going on with Rhea is the whole stuff with Dominic, and like they're selling a moment of when she finally hits the riptide on Dominic. Like they're not even selling you like a match or like they're gonna wrestle Bash in Berlin, but like they are just selling you on this one singular moment. When she finally hits this, everyone's gonna go crazy for it. So like, what is it? Is it again story, aesthetic, or something else?
It's a little bit everything. Like I think Rhea has always kind of been underrated, I guess you could say. Like she was just waiting to find her potential. Like I don't know if you've ever looked at interviews of her, even throughout NXT, like they've always said she was just kind of like a Charlotte ripoff, or like she needed to find something new. And once she went to like the short hair, it's kind of like, okay, there's a little goth thing going on. And then she's pulled out the whole like all black, all purple Judgment Day, the mommy stuff. It's like, oof, there she is. That's the Rhea we've been waiting for. And then you kind of get a bit of like China. You see a little bit of China in her, you know, and they kind of tease the fact that she likes, you know, she likes to fight the men a little. And I feel like that's something they like to mess around with, but I don't think they can from like a rating perspective. Like,
kind of like they're doing a mixed tag match in Berlin where like, see, like the whole intergender wrestling talk, you know, kind of debate and whatever, like it is an interesting one because some companies like TNA, for instance, they'll do quite a bit of it, and the indies are covered. I mean, every show there's multiple, but like you don't really see it in the WWE. But Rhea is somebody that I feel like, I mean, at the end of the day, the word believable, right? We're talking about professional wrestling.
It's entertaining,
right? But like, I think that if anybody could be seen as believable to beat men, that is a female company. Rhea, like you wouldn't have to sell it; people would buy it immediately. Yeah,
she's like 5'11", you know, she's actually huge. She's clearly can pick up like Nia Jax and a lot of bigger people. So would it surprise anyone she can pick up a 280-pound man? No. I mean, she can definitely sell that idea again, like the same way China did. Like it's a lot more believable to see China fighting men than to see, you know, Tori Wilson fighting men, even back then into today. You know, it's the same, I think, from a rating perspective, like little girls would not look up to that or watch that and be like, oh my God, I'm going to go fight men now. Like, no, because they can clearly tell they're not really Rhea Ripley. She's like a much different beast. But I feel like she's a great character. They've really built her up as a great person. Like off screen, she's really nice and really funny and cool. And then on screen, she's kind of just like a badass who's not afraid of anyone. So I think a lot of it comes down to, like you mentioned, Jeremy, with TikTok, is she has the look that can carry on to the internet as just people don't even know she wrestles. They're like, who's this chick with booty shorts slamming around people? I don't know, but she's cute. And she went viral that way. But then from wrestling fans, she also has the look and the skill and the full package pretty much.
All right, so you have an Undertaker shirt on. And you mentioned Bray Wyatt as well. So you're kind of, I appreciate like how I'll say all over the place you were, of like Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins, two completely different styles of wrestlers and characters. And then when it comes to Undertaker, so were you into sort of the, I guess, darker kind of, I'll say lore and horror sort of stuff?
I like it. Yeah, I don't mind it. I think in terms of people like Undertaker and stuff, you know, they've all had their silly moments. Like I know Undertaker started fighting a freaking gobbledygooker. You know what I mean? So it's like they all have their good and bad. And you had like the wacky ones like Boogeyman with the worms coming out of his mouth. And then you had the Bray Wyatts and Papa Shango. Like you have a little bit of these wacky like fictional characters. Even though we know it's fictional, they're more fictional. And then, I like it. I like when they dabble with it, just not too much. Like I wasn't a big fan of like the fun. The Firefly Funhouse was a little corny to me. I know a lot of people love that, but to me that was a little corny. I see what they were doing. It was kind of like a Five Nights at Freddy's thing, where it's like it doesn't seem creepy, but it really is creepy. Like looking into it, and I think it's fun. It's all fun in the end. There'll be good parts and bad parts.
Yeah, I really respect you representing for the Undertaker here on this show.
Yeah,
I really do. So it's full disclosure, like it's wild. The Undertaker's been around wrestling for like 4 decades or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I was never really a big fan of his. Like I've been watching him for a really long time. We're boomers here, dude. Like I try to keep our I try to keep it young as far as I do nothing but watch YouTube and keep up with all this stuff. But we're boomers and so I've watched Undertaker for a long time, like 30 years or whatever it's been. And I was never that big of a fan. I was always one of those big, like, Sting's better than the Undertaker, like, all that kind of stuff.
Sting's a GOAT too. Sting's the GOAT too.
I'm not denying that for sure. But then the Undertaker saved Cody at WrestleMania this year. And now I'm like buying Undertaker merch.
That's the Undertaker I know. I knew you were somewhere.
Yeah, we needed that. So I'm on Team Undertaker 100%. Had this interview taken place before WrestleMania, I'd have been like, oh, Undertaker's all right. But now I'm like, dude, hell yeah, Undertaker, that's what's up.
Yeah, I watch a lot of like the behind the scenes stuff too, like the podcast, the interviews, things like Jim Cornette. Yeah. And I listen to all these wrestling stories, and that also kind of helps decide who I like as a wrestler as well. I know that's kind of silly because it's like you're watching the fiction and the performance, but you care about how they are outside of the ring. I don't know. That to me, like if I hear from the interview that like this person's a real piece of work, I'm like, I can kind of skip their performance a little too. But from what I know of like Undertaker, like he seems like a great guy. He's like the locker room leader. Like he's always been a role model to everyone. No one really has a bad story about Undertaker, and I think he's just good. He's just a great character. He's good in the ring. He's good on the promos. He's had a great 40-year legacy. I got no hate towards.
He's got a great podcast, in my opinion, too.
The Last Ride.
I enjoy listening to him tell these stories that he's held off on telling his entire career because he was the one dude keeping kayfabe alive for so long. And,
that is funny because he kept the kayfabe for 40 years, and then you turn on his podcast, and he's just like this old dude who's like, yeah, man, what's up, bro? Yeah.
I wish he would just tell more of these like old school sort of stories. Like I don't like when the wrestlers are just basically trying to get their hot takes on stuff because it's fine that they have opinions on it. We all got opinions on stuff, but like I really listen to these podcasts for like stories. When Undertaker's talking about like, yeah, I was over in, I forget where he said, but like these two hookers were fighting. It was the greatest street fight I ever saw. Like, yeah, tell me stuff like that. Like, tell me about your travels around the world. And like, I'm sure you did some stuff you weren't supposed to do over there. Randy Orton's talking about, I was in Tijuana, Mexico. I had some dynamite and I threw it under a bus and the federales were chasing us.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah, because if you watch Jim Cornette, like I just mentioned, he posts everything. And so, of course, there'll be like, funny story with this guy. Here's a crazy Randy Orton story, crazy OVW story. And then it's like Donald Trump. I'm like, I don't care what you think about that. Like, I'm following you for wrestling lore. Like, I don't want to know your politics or what you think of Twitter or Elon Musk. I mean, you're allowed to say it. Just I care more about those wrestling stories, too. Like, tell us 40 years of the funny lore and stories you have of working in the company. I don't really care about politics and whatnot from you.
It is the most carny business in the world, and it was even worse back in the day. Like, these guys just got stories they're not supposed to be telling. Like, just tell them.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be great.
Yeah, like all the stories about JBL and, like, these crazy, apparently horrible people in the back. Like, those are stories I want to hear about, Because now it does seem like a much more safe organization. Like, just in general back then, there wasn't a whole lot of, like, HR, PR. Like, it was more of, like, a boys' business. Like, you're one of the boys or you weren't. Now it's
when men were men.
Yeah, that's saying now.
Video games.
I feel like that's why the whole Vince McMahon thing is so crazy now, is because it's happening in modern day. Like, if that stuff would have leaked like 40 years ago, people would be like, "Oh, that sucks." Is he still the boss though? Like they would probably just kind of sweep it under the rug. But it's such a different time now that it's a lot more looked at, and people are really starting to look at it from a different lens than just letting it be whatever, rich guy doing rich thing.
Yeah, I think before, like, to even attempt to go at the WWE legally, like, you know, before the power of social media and having, like, the support of other people that could also, like, corroborate stories and stuff, like, it was impossible. Like, there was no way you were going to, like, just be the single person saying, yeah, Vince is doing this, and, like, okay, like, no one's going to listen to you. And even if they did, you don't have the money to fight it. So, so you're right. Do you have any thoughts on, like, the Vince situation itself? Like, anything as, like, a fan or on a personal level where you're just kind of, like, got thoughts on the kind of the whole situation? Or do you want more to kind of come out?
I want more to come out. I'm on the side. When it comes to situations like that, I'm always on the side of, like, I do understand the power element, the power dynamic, the coercion. Of course, you know, prostitution is bad. That's not much of a hot take. You know, pimping out your assistant is not exactly a great thing. But I would like more. Just more is always better to know before making a final judgment. I do think Vince is a bad dude, probably. And it wouldn't surprise me if he was a bad dude who did all this. But again, I just prefer having 100% of everything before making a decision.
That's totally fair. And that's really tough to do in what you're doing with covering a lot of the internet drama, because that stuff is so fluid. I mean, like Dr. Disrespect, it's like one day he's got a tweet up there admitting everything, the next day it's gone. It's like,
yeah, he deletes it. He's like, I fooled you.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, that's you guys. You got balls for doing what you're doing, man. And I appreciate it. On the wrestling stuff, I was curious. Have you ever been to a live show? Like, have you ever? Like,
I've been to WrestleMania last year.
Ooh, how was that? How was that experience?
Oh, it was stressful. It was not fun, but that was mainly out of the WrestleMania element. Once you're there, it's fun, but up to that point, our rental car got towed, right? So we were like, oh shoot, we're gonna miss WrestleMania.
This was in LA? You're at the LA
This
one?
was in Philly, was it?
Okay, so it was this year.
Philly? Yeah, this year.
So you were there to see the best.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is still this month. Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah. No, so we only got the first night, but it was still, I watched the second one on the flight home. So it was cool. But yeah, getting to that point, we got our car towed. So we had to like Uber to WrestleMania, which actually kind of helped us because the parking was awful. And then we watched the show. My friend actually left to go get food, and he missed like 9 matches. I was like, dude, you're crazy. Yeah. He literally missed like every match, and then he came back. But then when it was time to leave, there was, what was it, 70,000 people, something like that, in an arena. And so all of them were trying to call an Uber.
Yeah.
We literally had to walk, like in Philly, in the cold, not exactly a great area. We were walking, just refreshing Uber. Our phones were about to die. It was insane. It was something that I would probably like do once. Maybe in the future, if I can get like a VIP pass type thing, I'll go again, but not as just like a regular person. Yeah, it was something.
That happened to me at WrestleMania 33, leaving the Orlando WrestleMania. Same kind of thing where like everyone is outside trying to get an Uber. It was just such a mess.
It's like they designed these cities and these hot spot like tourist areas, but without tourists in mind. It's such a strange thing. Like the parking is absolutely awful. Like I feel like the only way you really win in a situation like that is if you get a hotel that's like next to the stadium, which those are going to be like thousands a night. If you're anyone else, literally, it's going to be a headache. And if you go in there knowing that, I guess you'll have fun.
Yeah. Now, obviously, I don't want you to dox yourself, obviously, but
you're good.
Do people know like where you're from?
I'm from Virginia. I don't really share it, but it's like I have nothing to hide. Virginia's big, but yeah, if I have like followers like, where are you from? I'm just kind of like, why do you want to know that? That's weird.
Well, the reason I'm asking was because I want to know what like kind of sports and stuff you're into, because obviously you flew to WrestleMania, so I figured you're a big enough fan to like go make that trip. So I didn't know if you were anywhere near Philly, so that's the only reason. I'm not trying to find you. I promise.
No, it's pretty much all wrestling for me, man. Like I know of sports, I know of players and the top teams, but wrestling's really been the only like sport that I really care for because it does have that story element to it. and it's just my type of entertainment. I don't just want to watch guys dribble balls back and forth for 30 minutes, you know.
And there's no sports teams in Virginia, no professional teams.
I don't think so.
No. I was born in Virginia. I'm dating myself a long time ago, but I lived there until I was 10, and we basically went to Norfolk Tides games. That's the minor league team. I don't know if they're still affiliated with the Mets, but that's who they were at the time. But yeah, Norfolk Tides games was like the big thing because there were no major sports teams in Virginia. And I know because they
oh, nice. Yeah, I know the college element. They have ODU. Yeah. ODU is pretty big. That's kind of like the popular thing now. But yeah, other than that, there's not a lot of sports teams. There's like one indie promotion around me for wrestling. That one's pretty cool. I met Brian Pillman's son there. Didn't really meet him. Kind of bumped into him. He didn't seem like a very happy guy, but
it's funny. Yeah.
What's his name? Lexus King or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is. He's big business.
Oh, that's funny. Man. There's so many things I could ask you about that I know we're running.
Oh no, I mean, if y'all ever want to do this again, I'm down. You know, the larger I get, nothing's really changing besides, I guess, the money.
Yeah,
I'll still be down to chat and just have fun. And just
I appreciate that. Is most of the content you consume YouTube, like online stuff? Like if you're not really
pretty much like there's a few shows I watch, but with TV shows, it's like you watch it for the month and it's over. Like, yeah, I love The Boys. The Boys was a good show. Of course, they had their season. It's over. Probably if, you know, a new show comes out, you watch it, YouTube or gaming.
Who are some of your favorite YouTubers? Like, whether it's, like, for instance, I'll give, not that they need a shout out from me. I think it's really cool seeing a guy like him who just, he is constantly uploading. It's multiple channels. It's live stream. It's from Turkey Thompson and beyond that I can watch. Yeah. Who are some people you're a fan of, whether it's in the commentary community or just like random YouTube stuff?
Yeah, I like Turkey. He makes the long form, like lolcow video, like the whole short form videos where he talks about little dramas and things. I like Some Ordinary, kind of like my inspiration, essentially, like where he's super tech related. He does games. He talks about everything. He's more research based. Like I know Moist Critical, he does the commentary. And it's more about jokes. Muda or Some Ordinary Gamers, Mudahar, he's more of like, here's something I think. Here's the data too. So it's not just me cracking jokes and commentary. It's actually like data and information. You can come into a 10-minute video about like furry hackers and you're like, oh shoot, I actually learned something. That's pretty weird and cool. So those are probably like some of my top three right there. Moist Critical, Tom, and Some Ordinary Gamers.
And by the way, just for what it's worth, I am a big fan of Moist Criticals. I know earlier I mentioned, like, you know, I didn't really love the timing of him not covering some of this big drama with his platform because he has done it for so long. But I love that he's a big wrestling fan. He has the Moist Wrestling League on YouTube, which I don't know if you've checked that out or not, but he has his own little YouTube company.
I might have seen some of that. I'll need to look into that again, though.
yeah, it's interesting. So, like, I want to say that, too. Like, I respect all these people. I'm fans of all these people, and it's like I know that there's a lot of pressure to, like, you know, to cover things or not cover things, or how you're saying stuff, or relationships you don't want to. I know it's I know it's tough. But yeah, have you ever spoken like directly to Mudahar?
I have not. There's a few YouTubers who I've talking to that I'm like, oh crap, I know you. You know what I mean? But it hasn't ever been Moist or Some Ordinary Gamers. I know Tom, I think he watched one of my videos before on his stream. That was pretty cool. And he donated like $20 in one of my chats. I was like, is that the real turkey, Tom? And then, you know, there's a few in my PMs just out of privacy. I don't know if they, you know, but that's a surreal feeling. That's pretty cool. But when you're talking about the drama, I kind of get it. Taking a break, it is stressful, and that's coming from someone who's only been doing this a few months, like full time. Like when the recent interview with me that's kind of going around now, that was very stressful. You know, because you have all these other large creators watching this, giving their feedback, their chats of hundreds of people giving their feedback. And so like on one side, I have my community, which is amazing. I love them. They're like, you killed it, man. Lyrics stole your interview, blah, blah. No disrespect to Lyrics. He can do what he wants. And then on the other side, you have Lyrics' community who's like, this Cam guy sucks. Worst interviewer. He's a Jake Weddle Glazer. He's sweeping for all the bad takes. And something like that is very hard to deal with. And that's from a small creator. I couldn't imagine having, 18 million like Morse Critical and accidentally like having a slip of the tongue like on his trans issue thing that went pretty viral. Like it's horrible because a situation like that, he is putting himself between an audience of like, I guess people who kind of have normal takes, and then you have like the side who is like the Twitter people, and he put himself in a weird spot where he is outcasting one or the other. There's not that's a kind of interview where I'd be like, I don't feel comfortable getting into that because I don't care enough, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. I mean, and for what it's worth, like, I know we're about to wrap up, but you mentioned Lyrics, and I know that there has been some stuff online, like going back and forth between y'all's communities since Monday. Yeah. And I will say, I think at the end of the day, I don't love the approach because I think he came across really aggressive and did kind of take over the stream unfairly. I think that's a whole other conversation. But what I think ultimately is important about what he was doing is I think he was really trying to make things as black and white and clear cut as humanly possible so that there isn't more ammunition for the people who are going to defend certain things, if that makes sense. So it's like, listen, we need to get this story straight, and this story straight, because if we don't, then people aren't going to listen to the rest of the converation. So we need, right. And I don't necessarily love the way he went about it that day. I feel like that's more kind of for him to do on his own stream potentially. But yeah. But, at the end of the day, you were the one who was able to pull Dogpack onto the stream, Jake Wood onto the stream, and that's a huge credit to you. You got these people all in front of the YouTube community, so everyone could have this conversation. So I have respect, once again, for everyone we're talking about right now. Even if it's kind of a little negative now and then, it's because I watch all these people. I consume all their content. I'm supporting them. Yeah, that's a lot of people walked away from that thinking, like, I hate Lyrics. There was even like a little Twitter drama after that I would say we both contributed in, but we have reached out to each other privately. We both deleted our Twitter drama. So I think his community's probably going to always have an issue with me, and mine's probably going to always have an issue with him. That's fine. I don't dislike the guy. If we ever bump into each other, I'm not going to dislike him. It is what it is. We're all making content. We're all, have our own different ways of creating content. So if the way I interview someone is to be nice and understanding and not really prod too much, his might be the other side where he's focused on specific points and punching and trying to get that. It's going to be, it's like Keemstar. Keemstar and me will probably have extremely different interview styles or debate styles, and that's just how people's brains work. And that's why it's great to have different commentary channels on YouTube. So I'm not mad at it. I think it was a learning experience for me. It didn't help that my camera, again, screwed up on me, so that made me look really unprofessional. But I think it did well. I had big people reach out to me about it. Lots of big people reacted to it and talked about it. And kind of the same as you, they said Lyrics was fair. Some people say he was unfair. My opinion, I think he was a little unfair. But again, I do understand how he went about it and what his motive was. And I'm not mad at him for it, but I'm still glad it happened. It was a cool experience. It was an incredible stream. It was highly entertaining. I watched the entire thing. I watched all of Quinn up until Weddle went over to you. Then I jumped over to you. Yeah. I made a whole night out of it, man. Yeah, it was fun. It was cool. It was something. Yep. I have one last question, but we have something we ask everybody. If Jeremy, you want to ask your final question, and then I will ask mine. And I know you have to cover Dynamite. I apologize, Jeremy. That this is sorry.
So the thing we ask everybody is, what is the coolest thing in your room?
Coolest thing. BRB.
Yeah, you can get up and
BRB. Get ready. Coolest thing. Also most expensive though. Oh.
Awesome.
I hope it's like a sign.
It's this.
Oh.
Well, that's sick.
Oops.
He's huge.
Galactus. So yeah, this Hasbro Galactus.
Very cool.
It's
Very
awesome.
cool. Where do you get that from?
It was a HasLab, so it was like a crowdfunding thing.
Ooh.
He was
Very,
pricey.
very cool.
Well, he wasn't
Yeah.
that pricey for what you get, but if you were to buy him now, he'd be pricey. And he comes with like Silver Surfer and Nova that like he can hold and stuff. It's pretty dope.
Dude, that's awesome.
Hell
Very
yeah.
cool. Very cool.
Yeah, he's sick. That's definitely the coolest thing I got. I mean, I also got like a Captain America shield, a bunch of other random things, but that's the winner right there.
That is very, very cool. That is a great, coolest thing in your room. And the last question I got for you, and you know, I know you mentioned you don't want to talk about the PMs, the DMs and stuff you're getting, but my last question for you, when is Dogpad Part 3, man? When is it? When's it going down?
I wish I knew, man. All I can say is I think he's pretty much said publicly as well now that he's waiting for Mr. Beast to post something, which is bad because Mr. Beast has already said he's waiting for everyone else. So it's in a weird spot where Mr. Beast isn't going to speak out until everyone else does, but then apparently Dogpack's most critical video isn't going to be until Mr. Beast. So we're all waiting at this point.
Yes, I was kidding, by the way. I don't expect you, even if you knew, to like reveal that to us.
Oh yeah, yeah. If I had anything too crazy, I'd tease it a little, but I wouldn't spoil.
No. Appreciate your time again, Cam.
Yeah,
This
man.
was
Thank
awesome.
you. This was fun. It was really fun.
Thank
It
you
flew
for
by
doing this.
actually.
Apologies again for all the technical difficulties.
No,
to
you're
start with.
good.
I know
You're
we
good.
Lost like 15 minutes just off of that. But thank you again.
It
for doing
happens.
this. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Oh yeah, CamNuggets on YouTube, CamNuggets or it's CamNuggets YT on Twitter. Someone took CamNuggets. It's pretty much CamNuggets anywhere. So if you Google CamNuggets, you'll find whatever you need. I do commentary. I do funny videos sometimes. I stream. Sometimes a little more serious. We play games. We even play Roblox just to be silly with the subs, but that's me.
Very nice. What games do you play on Roblox?
On Roblox, don't laugh. So people were like, you need to play this game called Dress to Impress. And it's like a little fairy. It's like a princess dress up game, right? And it's ironically fun, like, cause you let your fashion sense out, but it's kind of like a meme. Like Moist Critical's played it. Queso plays it. Everybody plays it cause it's like surprisingly kind of fun, even though it's really girly. But other than that, I play like shooting games, and just outside of Roblox, I play pretty much anything.
Gotcha.
So,
Well, guys, the links are below. The YouTube link is below if you want to follow him there. And again, Cam, we really appreciate your time tonight. And
oh yeah,
guys,
thank you, man. It was awesome.
Guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight. We are back. Apologies for the audio and it being a little bit lower. We had to, StreamYard was not working and we had to kind of configure another setup. Again, we kind of mentioned it. We had some technical difficulties. That was on my end. I should have raised my volume a little bit, but I didn't recognize it until it was already done. And then I didn't have enough time to really turn it around. So that's my fault. I apologize for that. Hopefully we'll get Cam back on, and to once all this Mr. B stuff, if it ever gets settled, we can talk about that and get more into a little pro wrestling with Cam. But really fun interview with him. Guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us here this morning. We'll be back next week talking AEW All In, talking everything else that's going on in the world of professional wrestling. Everyone, enjoy your weekend. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for the subscriptions. Head over to FightfulOverbook.com in about 4 hours, if my math is correct. Rob and Maggie coexisting on FightfulOverbook.com. Usually they're Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern, but they are today because Maggie will be in London for AEW All In this weekend. So coexisting with Rob and Maggie at 3 p.m. Eastern, FightfulOverbook.com. Go check them out. Go show them some love. Go show them some support. Guys, enjoy your weekend. If you're watching All In, I'm sure it's going to be a great show. Have a good time. If you're not watching All In, if you're not watching wrestling this weekend, enjoy whatever you're doing this weekend. We'll talk to y'all next week. Bye, everybody.